Good morning, this is Newsweb. Dennis, I said we start this bulletin on a positive and a high note. Faith Kipyegon has won Kenya its first gold medal in the ongoing World Athletics Championships in Oregon, USA. She clocked 3 minutes 52.96 seconds. Meanwhile, former Olympic champion in 3,000 meters steeplechase race, Seriousness Kipruto has won bronze medal for Kenya in the ongoing World Championships in Oregon, USA. Seriousness Kipruto finished in the third place in the finals of the men's 3,000 meters race with a time of 8 minutes 27.92 seconds.
But Kali floats across the front. Now comes the acceleration. Kipruto is the defending champion. Gurma, silver in Doha, silver in Tokyo. Can he somehow wrestle the gold away from Bakali? No, he can't. El Bakali becomes the first non-Kenyan to hold the world title as well as the Olympic title. And the silver goes to Gurma once again. And Seriousness Kipruto makes it yet another medal. Coming back to form, he's on the podium with the bronze.
A hearty congratulations to Faith Kipyegon and Seriousness Kipruto and all those who are representing the country in Oregon, USA. From Kenya, we cheer you and say keep on keeping on. And now, the Constitutional Court has ordered the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission to accept Ruben Kigame's presidential nomination papers regardless of a deficit in signatures presented. Justice Anthony Mrima said, given his disability, the effort demonstrated by Kigame in collecting signatures should suffice as far as meeting the required threshold goes. The Kisumu County-led commission had removed the candidate from the race for failing to obtain the 48,000 signature threshold, which was a requirement for candidates. In the lawsuit filed at Human Rights and Division Court of the High Court, Justice Mrima also set aside a ruling the IEBC Dispute Resolution Committee that upheld Chebukati's decision to lock him out of the August 9th presidential election. Mrima, however, declined to issue express orders requiring IEBC to gazette Kigame, terming the prayers inadmissible since the commission is the only body mandated to do so. Now, former Nairobi Governor Sonko has now moved to the institute contempt proceedings against the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission Chairman Kisumu County and Mombasa returning officer Swalha Yusuf for striking him off the Mombasa gubernatorial race through his legal counsel. Sonko held that his candidature is still valid on the basis of Article 193(3) of the Constitution, and therefore the revocation by Mombasa returning officer Yusuf is untimely. The UDA presidential candidate Rigathi Gachagua's confirmed attendance in today's presidential debate. Gachagua visited the venue of the debate at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa, where he was briefed on ground rules by the team led by the Secretariat-led Clifford Mashoka. Gachagua will be battling it out with Martha Karua Zebiola Moja, Ruth Musheru Mutua of Agano Party and Justina Wambui of Roots Party. A statement from the Presidential Debate Secretariat says the debate will be held in 2 tiers, starting at 5 p.m. with candidates whose popularity rating based on 3 recent opinion polls is less than 5%. It will be followed by candidates with about 5% popularity rating who will face off each other from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. And Kenya and Seychelles has signed a record 10 agreements to cement the historical cordial diplomatic relations the two countries have enjoyed since they became independent. President Uhuru Kenyatta and his host President Wavel Ramakalawan witnessed the signing of the pacts at State House Victoria in the Indian Ocean island nation of Seychelles.
We've had the opportunity to resolve that we need to further cooperate on matters peace and security, especially with regard to maritime security. You and I share the belief that Africa has the potential and the know-how to forge a much better future for her people, especially our young people.
I have expressed my gratitude to President Kenyatta for the assistance provided by the 50 Kenyan healthcare workers who were recruited by the Ministry of Health in March 2020 following the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Key among the agreements signed was one on cooperation in blue economy sector, which seeks to enhance capacity building and exchange of expertise in the governance aspect of the blue economy, as well as bolster the circular economy and collaboration in the aquaculture sector.
As lawmakers, you have a sovereign duty to ensure that we have a legal framework that upholds the fundamental rights and freedoms of our people and ensures equity, justice for all, and promotes the rule of law
And once again, congratulations to all those representing Kenya in Oregon, USA. To those who are yet to run, keep on keeping on. This is News Web Dennis Asada. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Malindi.
The following takes place between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say, I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us to assert our will.
When the legislature are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi Lokop is Jeshi Lawokov?
I can't say it very well.
And everyone knows. Okay.
Good morning this Tuesday. What are we looking at this morning? Traffic is already starting to build up in many parts of the city, but nothing crazy just yet. A little bit here and there. Outbound on Mombasa Road, and we have some traffic coming into the city on Jogo Road, but it looks like that's just about the size of it this morning. We'll take a look in about half hour and see how that has built up. Talk to us, SpiceFM, KE on Twitter this morning.
SpiceFM, Nyeri. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
9 minutes after 6. Good morning. How are you doing? 19th day of July 2022. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. It's 19th.
It is.
Days for filing those returns. Hey, Karen atupatianga stress lakini bwana. Hey, bwana. No sooner.
Hard.
Hey, City, you're really admiring your photo on the wall.
Kuna ndio mmoja umesimama hapo katikati na sisi. Nilikuwa naangalia yeye.
Angalia hiyo demu.
Nilikuwa naangalia mguu.
Cheki who to stay. Hey.
Mguu. Hiyo picha yangu.
When was this photo taken?
The other day when with the others stand by that window over there.
It's a very lovely. We should be taking photos from this angle.
Right?
Exactly right.
Earth to Eric and CT. Meanwhile.
That's you, Ndu.
Wapi?
Kwa hiyo picha.
Let me look at it properly.
I told you guys just.
Hey. Na hiyo siku tulikuwa nayo hapa.
Imagine. For 4 hours. 5 hours. 5.5 hours even.
How are you today?
Mimi? Niko fine, thank you.
Kabisa. Fresh.
Nimefurahi kukuona.
Na wewe City?
I'm very well, thank you.
Uko very well, thank you.
Very well, thank you. Yake iko sawa.
Okoh fresh barida.
Mimi iko mzuri, iko mzima, iko bambam. Yes, hiyo yote ni mimi.
Yote. Hiyo yote
ni
wewe.
All that. Right.
We. Haya.
Really? What is it?
Sinaona tu vile Faith Kipyego amefanya. Shown the world
what she's made of. That lady is a joy to watch. My friend.
Hapana mchezo.
No, in the real sense of the word, hapana mchezo.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, everybody. Today, Tuesday, the 19th day, we'll have some interesting conversations. Yesterday, the court, after hearing from Ruben Kigame and after hearing from the IEBC, came out with a judgment. And they said, IEBC, stop jokes. Okay? Stop what? Jokes. This
What's
man...
jokes in Kiswahili?
Mzaha, mchezo, jokes.
Jokes.
Hizo vitu zote.
Okay.
Pana leta mchezo.
Wacha dhiaka.
Dhihaka. All those things. They told the IEBC to listen to Ruben Kigame and to consider his nomination. Well, the keyword here I'm using is consider. They didn't tell him, put him on the ballot. They said, accept his application and consider it.
So it was not a direct order to put him on the ballot. It was more or less reconsider his application.
Consider his application.
Yeah.
Look,
actually,
like you do with all the others.
Yes.
They come in.
Because you didn't do that.
You didn't do that.
Yes.
The court isn't crossing boundaries and going into territory that is not theirs.
Not theirs, right.
No? They begin and stop where the jurisdiction begins and ends.
And in accordance to the application before them. So Ruben Kigame will be joining us at 9 a.m. today to tell us, okay, so what is this? What tribulations are these that you've been going through with the IEBC? He'll come and tell us, and then he'll also tell us his way forward beyond this. That is at 9 a.m. At 7 o'clock, we talk Kiambu politics again. Remember, Kiambu and Nairobi joined in the hip. What happens in Nairobi also happens in Kiambu and vice versa. And that's why we're also very, very keen on what's happening in the politics of Kiambu City County. Not City County, Kiambu County. The Jubilee candidate for the senatorial seat, George Mara, will be joining us at 7 a.m. Jubilee Kiambu. Is Jubilee still a strong party in Mount Kenya, and specifically in Kiambu? He'll come. See, of course, he'll tell us, yes, it is. We'll ask him to demonstrate how. Yep.
Show us.
Yes. And then at 8 o'clock, let's ask ourselves, so where is our wheat coming from?
Which or wheat?
Wheat.
Okay.
No.
And our sunflower oil. And
what we in Kenya call wheat.
Yeah.
Wheat.
Where is wheat?
Which wheat? Where? What? Where is it coming?
Wheat flour.
Wheat flour.
Unga ya ngano. Natoka wapi? Now that Ukraine is doing what it's doing and Russia is doing what it's doing, the Ukrainian ambassador to Kenya, Andrei Proverb, hiyo jina atakuwa.
Kwanza tena.
Andrei Proverb. There's a D somewhere.
Okay.
And an N. And then there's a Y.
All right.
Now, Proverb.
He will tell us how he pronounces his own name.
You arrange them. You know how they give kids?
When there's an N and a Y in Kenya, it's Nye. Now it's DNYK. 4 consonants, one back to back.
It's Nyuk.
The D is silent.
And the K?
The K is pronounced. K
and the
is
Y?
K. Y.
So?
Nyik.
So he'll be here at 8 o'clock.
And
let's talk about
consonants following each other.
Buana. 4 of them. DNYK. Sounds like a fashion.
Sounds like Donna Karen, New York.
Yes.
Okay, before we butcher the man's name, let him come in peace.
He'll come and we'll have a conversation with him. What's the latest from the Russian invasion of Ukraine? What's happening? Are there any efforts at finding a lasting solution? Is Ukraine still hell-bent on joining the European Union? Are the European Union countries and America still supporting Ukraine? And all those other things, we'll have a conversation. And of course, try and bring the context home. This and more conversations this Tuesday. Keep it here for that.
58 new cases of COVID in the country from a sample size of 1,511. And that gives Kenya a positivity rate of 3.8%. Not looking too bad in terms of those numbers. Sub 5 the last 1 week. So this is good. It looks like temperatures are warming up slightly. I know you might say, what? It was freezing yesterday.
In Kenya.
Yes. So we're looking at towards the mid-August is when we'll see, temperatures probably come back towards warmer. Right. And then we're going to see a decline of the cases, as we already see. I mean, we started off when we had reached the height in this current wave, 259. Now we're at 58. Be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of days. Right. We're also acknowledging that this is a small sample size coming off the back of the weekend. Possible to see more cases as we go into the week, but it's a kind of wait-see kind of, thing. 228 recoveries made and 0 recorded deaths. Again, a good thing. Let's look at what's going on around the world. 568 million is where we are at now. 568, 579, 567. Interesting numbers, but that's what the global tally is right now. 568,579,567 cases of COVID around the world. Let's look at two stories making the headlines in terms of COVID. COVID rises across the US. Come on, computer, work with me here. There we go. COVID rises across the US amid muted warnings and murky data. So BA.5 has made its way to the shores of the US, is dominating a surge of new infections. Many health officials say the wave is a cause for caution and not alarm. So looking at Chicago in Illinois, and COVID-19 is surging again in what experts consider the most transmissible variant of the pandemic yet. But something is different. The public health authorities are holding back, and they're not going ahead and saying, look, everybody shut down, stay in your houses, put on your masks, don't touch anybody, don't breathe. They're basically saying, let's just wait and see. It's not necessary for us to panic just yet. Let's take a look at this thing and see. So there's already a surge, so they're calling it a surge within a surge. And they're saying the situation is concerning, but it is not alarming. 15 county hospitals in Kenya are going to, in a partnership between the UNDP and the Russian embassy, they will get 120 million shillings worth of personal protective equipment. The UNDP team lead and resilient unit Evelyn Koech said the partnership is meant to support border counties as they bear the heaviest burden of COVID-19. So when we say border counties, really it's those counties where people are crossing over, quite some, and because of the porous border issue. So she said the wave of COVID-19 infections is signified with the number of cases in the country, rather in the counties, increasing by 92% in the past month. We're seeing those numbers as low, but that is the percentage in terms of a rise. And with this partnership, seeing that, all right, we can approach this with caution, and caution means to have the PPEs, and the Russian government, together with UNDP, has come to make that possible for the counties. That's what's going on with COVID.
Okay. It's 19 after 6. Are you online? You know what you need to do. Say hello to us. Tell us where you're tuned in from this morning. We will shortly, after taking a look at the weather forecast, come online and appreciate and acknowledge everybody who tells us where they are. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. SpiceFM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they're getting per year?
how much inconvenience they are causing. As much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a Fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the situation.
15 degrees and mostly cloudy conditions in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 20 and lows of 13. It's mostly cloudy at 13 in Nakuru, highs of 23, and we'll see highs of 18 in a mostly cloudy Nyeri, currently at 12. It's also 12 degrees in Eldoret, highs of 21 and lows of 12. It's raining in Mombasa at 22, highs of 27 and lows of 21. 22 and rain showers as well in Malindi, highs of 26, and it's 18 and cloudy in Kisumu. It'll go to highs of 27 and lows of 17. 15 degrees and cloudy conditions in Kakamega, highs of 26 today. Mostly cloudy at 19 in Kampala, highs of 25, and we'll see highs of 28 in a partly cloudy Dar es Salaam, currently at 20. It's 8 degrees and clear in Johannesburg, highs of 17 and lows of 7, and it's mostly clear in Lagos at 24. It'll go to highs of 29 today, and Kinshasa will see highs of 28. Currently clear at 20. It's 32 degrees in Beijing going into afternoon Tuesday. We'll see highs of 33 and lows of 24. You thought yesterday was hot in Paris. We're going to see highs of 40 today. It's currently cloudy at 22. Waking up in the morning at 22 is quite the thing. It's 22 and cloudy in London as well. They will see highs of 37. New York slightly cooler with the rain showers this morning at 26. It's still Monday night. Coming into Tuesday, we'll see highs of 28 and lows of 23.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
"22 minutes after 6.
Mornings done right.
About
94.4 Spice FM.
E10, aka Hill 10, is where Kimutai Murisha is tuned in from this morning. Eddie Odwar, good to have you in the room this morning. And he says he's listening from Koru. I am appalled by our insincere politicians who are now playing Ugali politics. It appears maize meal prices have become a tool for manipulating voters. It's not new, man. It's not
Has the
new.
price been reduced?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
People like Amlioto are jubilating in the streets. 100 shillings. 2
Ugali
kgs.
mashoka bwana.
Ugali.
Now that is a subsidy.
In it, it is actually. It's as a result of subsidy by government.
Yes.
All right. So, Kwakwera is asking, why is CT's left shoe longer than the right one?
It's because one foot is longer than the other.
Voila. Okay.
So this is coming from where? From the
From
photo?
the photograph.
Ebu.
Now we see. Oh, you know what it is? It's that one foot is behind, is slightly behind the other one. Do you see now how it can be a thing? Okay. Good morning, Situation Room. Peter Ndroga in the house. Another blessed day. Tuned from Kiambu and likewise getting some nice vibes with Ndu's soothing voice. Hey, Muga, the inspiration, wisdom that comes, the proverb as always. Are you ready? Be ready. It's a rainy morning in Eldoret. That's where Colin's Kipsat is. And watching from Belize. You know where Belize is?
Yeah.
Where is it?
It's in Belize.
It's 9:16 p.m. in Belize. Where? For 4 marks. I don't know why 4, but okay. Why not?
Belize?
Yeah.
It's near Russia.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's 9 p.m. in Belize.
Yes.
Okay. So you said 4. Okay.
4 points, 4 marks.
Then it's near Argentina.
Closer
2
than
more.
Russia.
Okay. It's somewhere near Spain.
Keep trying.
It's close to the Antarctic.
Bas, now, hey. Okay, now tell us where it is.
You tell us.
You have had 4 chances now.
You mark the bwana. See, umepewa answers.
Swende mwalimu.
Belize is a country.
Yes. That's why I said it's near.
It's in Central America.
Okay.
And when I said Argentina?
That's why I said you were closer. Anyway,
Where is
Sharon
Belize?
Rojas, Belize is in Central America.
Okay, yeah, but neighboring which country and what? And what do they grow?
No, see you.
Central America.
Is it raining
Costa
now?
Rica is Central America.
Bas.
Okay, Ujue, right?
So not Southern America.
Not
Central.
Not.
And not North America.
It's in
Central.
So you know.
Higher. Where is Central America?
So it's between North America
and
South America. So there's some countries, Honduras,
Yani, unajua
Dominica,
unajua ile nchi inaitwa USA.
Haiti. Those countries all in Central America.
Eric, you know USA?
USA iko North.
USA iko North.
Na Canada wako nayo huko.
Northern North.
Kao ndio North. Na Mexico.
Mexico
is south of USA.
Yes, but they're there. Huko. NAFTA.
Exactly. They're all part of NAFTA.
Geography is not your strong point. But Belize. Tell us about Belize.
Tell us about Belize.
It's where Sharon Rojas is, and she's saying good morning at her night to you. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Very, very good.
Yeah. Wanna watch news?
Wanna watch news?
Yeah, 9 p.m. Sawa.
Martin one day is tuned in this morning from Gigiri, and he says, good morning. Robert Tibogo is tuning from Mombasa. Yegon Hussein says, tukondani indani kabisa. Good morning to all our listeners.
Ako wapi Yegon?
That's a good
Moyale.
question. Yegon, where are you? Belize is in the
Matu.
Caribbean. Sharon Rojas is really listening, and she's got to tell you it's in the Caribbean. Yes. Okay? Okay. Thank you, Sharon.
Belize it moved, huh?
It moved down to the Caribbean just 5 minutes ago.
Caribbeans are now central to this conversation.
Exactly. Thank you. All right. Nyakati says, good morning, tuning from Nyakach. All right.
Kisumu County.
Kisumu
County.
Okay. Okay, quite a number of people online as well. David Kioi says good morning. Govana Luganya says he's in as well. Streaming loud and clear from Mombasa. Tuko Pamoja, that's what Robin says. Amimo Vin says it's good morning. I can see your bright faces hosting you in the hot seat at 8 a.m. Well, we're going to have to wait and see. Alex is tuned in. Helena Pondi tuned in as well. And Bewa Macha is tuned in from the place.
You know.
To the east.
You know. That place, right?
Right.
City, I forgot that we have to do something before the proverb.
Let me look for the something. The Guinea.
Let me put the Guinea. Yeah. Yakmakamadu.
All right. We're still in Namibia.
Okay.
That which leaks cannot stay full.
That which leaks cannot stay full.
This one is profound.
Omo.
Tuachie hapo.
Yeah.
That which leaks cannot stay full.
Brush your teeth twice a day.
You know, have you downloaded Pocket
Fresh
by
gel with the
Mozilla
secret
on your
long-lasting
phone? If you
fresh
haven't,
breath for
please
strong
go
teeth and
to
healthy gums.
your App Store or Google Play Store and download it. Search for Pocket. You will see Pocket by Mozilla. Download it quick, chop. And then it helps you to start organizing your life better than it is right now. Because if, for example, you go to www.standardmedia.co.ke, you find an interesting story and you want to read it later, you save it in your pocket. If you come across some story that you want to share, you can share and somebody can save it in their pocket. Somebody can share with you a story. And what do? You save it in your pocket.
That's right.
What's in the headlines?
Okay. Of course, the politics of Ugali, as Eddie Odor had talked about this morning, that's on the front page of the Standard. The Nation talks about Gachagua versus Karua, of course, looking at the running mates debates that are going to be held tonight. But Ugali is back. Politics of Ugali, prices fall by half. The government will pay millers the amount above the 100 shillings for every 2 kg packet of maize flour for the next 28 days to ensure prices fall from the current 250 shillings for 2 kgs. But questions arise on the timing and availability of money. Is it something that can actually be sustained for those 24 days or rather 28 days? cheap unga for Kenyans, but the pain is not about to leave the table. The maize subsidy is among recent populist moves by Uhuru ahead of the general election. Experts question where a cash-strapped government will get the money for the subsidy. Kenyans will, for the first time in weeks, enjoy cheap ugali after the government announced the launch of a subsidy program for maize flour. In what looks like a political coup by outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta's administration, the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries and Cooperatives announced that a 2 kg packet of maize flour would retail at 100 shillings for the next 4 weeks, a reduction of 60% from the current price of 250. The ministry shall subsidize the price of maize flour being produced, sold by the miller for a period of 4 weeks from the date of this contract, according to the PS Agriculture on a contract document whose authenticity could not yet be verified. However, sources aware of the deal confirmed that indeed the subsidy is in the works, with the government only waiting to tie up the loose ends. Yes, it is true, according to a source familiar with the matter. This week, the price will come down to 100 shillings for a 2 kg packet. Another source also said millers and the government were still engaged in talks. Attempts to reach officials at the Ministry of Education, Agriculture, including CS Peter Munya, were unsuccessful as their phones went unanswered. The maize subsidy program adds to a bag of campaign goodies. President Kenyatta, who backs Azimio Umoja One Kenya presidential candidate Raila Odinga to replace him, has offered Kenyans to cushion them against the high cost of living. Already, the government had waived import duty on non-genetically modified organisms, yellow maize and animal feeds. The government has also waived all levies charged on imported maize.
Sasa lakini. So it's for the next 20 days.
28.
After you go and vote,
Mujisot.
No. After you voted.
After you voted.
1 week.
You have a week at least.
You have a week of subsidized maize.
This will go for how long?
This
one is going for how long?
28 days.
28 days?
Yes. 28 days, 4 weeks.
Okay. So after elections?
After elections, you have 1 week.
1 week.
Yes.
When the results are declared, now. That's it.
Decide.
How much is this going to cost? The Ministry of Agriculture estimates
4.25 million shillings.
How much?
Sorry. Okay, so let me give you some of these numbers, okay? All right. So the Ministry of Agriculture estimates in key staple food balance sheet that maize consumption per month is in the 4.25 million bags, but that's something totally different, right? So the cost of the subsidy, a calculation showed that the government could end up paying 140.2 million shillings for the subsidy, considering that Kenyans consume an average of 3.75 million 90 kg bags in a month. Wow. A 90 kg bag of maize produces on average 36 2 kg packets of maize flour. To ensure the millers keep their end of the bargain, the Ministry of Agriculture will deploy its reps to the premises and depots of the millers to verify the invoices and customer for the maize before it is sold. So the amount that we're looking at to be spent on this subsidy is just upwards of 140 million shillings.
So basically what the government is doing is it's going to the maize miller. The maize miller, your cost of milling remains the same.
Yes.
Your cost of selling, the off-shelf cost, not shelf, off-factory cost remains the same.
Right.
The government comes and pays the extra.
They'll pay the 150 shillings that it is currently selling at. So it's currently selling at 250 shillings. The government will come in
and pay the 150.
And pay 150. On each 2 kg
on
packet.
Each 2 kg packet that goes into the market.
Yes.
Wow. Wow.
So if you're looking at the average consumed on a monthly basis, you take that and you multiply by 150.
Okay.
Right?
Questions
which is what the government is going to do for a month.
Questions are, so number one question, where is the money coming from? From what budget is it coming from? Number two, do they require parliament?
This is it. There are some loose ends that need to be
this.
tied up. These are the loose ends they're talking about. Okay.
Number three. Way. Okay. So, and then there's the import window that's been opened.
Yes.
Okay.
There are many questions. I mean, in as much as people breathe a sigh of relief, the question is, as you've said, is the country able to afford this at the moment? What is suffering for this
The
to
one
happen?
thing we couldn't afford, if we were to speak practically, is the manifestation of our impunity that we refer to as corruption. We actually can't afford it. If you look at the hemorrhaging, and we seem to have afforded it despite all odds. So anything that comes after that, are you telling me that subsidizing maize is going to cost us 2 billion shillings a day? It won't. So, where the government is going to get the money from, let it get it from wherever money the government, where it normally gets money for such things from. Okay? Whichever subsidy, whichever levy, whatever it is that it does, let it find that money if it's going to do that. However, since it's a 4-week one-off.
Reprieve.
Yes.
Let them eat Ugali.
You know something? That...
Go and stockpile.
That's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to buy it at this limiting. They'll start limiting how many you can take then in the shop or whatever. But then, does this not then give credence to the speculations that are saying it's just being done to kind of, for the election?
Well, it's important though.
Absolutely it is, because it was going crazy out here.
It's important.
Yeah.
You know something?
Peace and tranquility in the run-up to an election.
People's bellies are full.
It is important.
Very important.
What?
The question is, could they have done this earlier?
Could they have?
Could they have afforded to do it earlier?
Of course they could have afforded it.
24 minutes to 7. Let's take a quick break. Let's take a look at the traffic. Yes?
Yes.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Do you sometimes come across all this interesting and amazing content online, and before you know it, you're 10 tabs in? Or sometimes your browser refreshes itself and you lose that video or write-up you were keen on. In these moments, I bet you wish you could store this content somewhere so it's accessible to you when you need it or want to share it. Well, you can. It is as simple as putting it in your pocket. Thanks to Pocket by Mozilla, you can curate what you love, save it to your list, and access it even when you're offline. It gets better. You have the option of listening to your favorite articles, and before you ask, of course you can watch video content as well as even when offline. Filter the best of the internet and download Pocket by Mozilla now. Available on iOS and Android. Stori zetu kikwetu.
Spice FM, Malindi.
Not too terrible traffic situation on these Nairobi streets this morning, and we're looking at a little bit of it on Jogo Road getting out towards Landis, which is clear and free all the way to the Kamkunji roundabout, which in turn is actually not doing too bad this morning. So now it's time to be up and about so you don't get stuck in that traffic that is likely to come after 7 o'clock. And we are looking at traffic building up on Langata Road as well as you're going towards that interchange that's still being constructed. We will see a pileup of traffic there. On the Thika Superhighway, things have started to look a mess, and that's just at the Pangani underpass, however. Coming off of that outer ring junction through to past the drive-in, then the Mathare turn-off to Survey and the Drift. Not too bad right now. Traffic is flowing. And we're looking at a bit of a hold-up just there at Coffee Gardens on Kiambu Road, and you're coming out towards Muthaiga Square, but you should be all right. James Gishuru not looking too bad. We're going to see a pileup of traffic because we're seeing that building up here and there. Coming off onto Wayaki Way, however, we're not having too much of an issue. Traffic really hasn't started, but we're seeing the rumblings of the same. Talk to us where you might get stuck this morning on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life.
Twenty-one minutes to 7. So Sharon says Belize is 10,455 kilometers from Nigeria.
Mm-hmm. Our cousins.
They share a border with Mexico and Guatemala. I followed your station for a year now, and thanks for mentioning my country.
Voila.
Oh, thank you, Sharon, for tuning in. We shall travel 10,455 kilometers from Nigeria.
She's just here.
It's just here.
2 flights away.
Yeah. When then we land. go for a weekend. Yes.
And we're back on Monday.
We are back haraka. Like that. City, what are you looking at?
Look at an interesting article. Remember this matter that we raised some times back regarding food for the areas that were drought-stricken?
Yes.
Well, 2 in 1 here, because the story involves KEMSA. Okay? Now, KEMSA is involved in dispatching some very interesting food. Okay? Now, this food that we refer to is ready-to-use therapeutic food, RUFT. I'm going to explain this. This food has been provided by UNICEF. Okay. Now, anyone who worked in the HIV and AIDS field would know that people who are HIV positive were often given some high-impact, nutritious, it was porridge really, or gruel as we may call it. Now, UNICEF has dispatched something similar. 30 million shillings worth, by the way, okay? The consignment of high nutrition food commodities has been dispatched from Nairobi to 4 drought-hit counties to mitigate malnutrition risk among children. The counties are Turkana, Mandera, Wajir, and Isiolo. Okay? It is part of the KEMSA UNICEF Integrated Supplies Program funded by UNICEF and managed by the authority to provide food commodities in 25 counties, 25, to curb malnutrition-related child mortality. The flag-off was witnessed by the Ministry of Health Chief Administrative Secretary, Dr. Rashid Amam, UNICEF representative to Kenya, Maniza Raman, British High Commissioner to Kenya, Jane Marriott, British Director General for Humanitarian Development, Nick Dyer, and KEMSA Chief Executive, Terry Ramadhani, at the Ministry of Health offices. So, since 2015, KEMSA has been distributing or has distributed to date 2 billion shillings worth of UNICEF supplied commodities to over 2,200 health facilities in the 25 arid and semi-arid countries. Efforts that have helped achieve zero malnutrition deaths. Okay? So whenever you hear of distribution of food to some of these areas, bear in mind it isn't just the government of Kenya, it is
the other partners.
There have always been other partners. And in this case, it is UNICEF. 4 counties, but the target is 25 counties. And this is something they've been doing for quite some time. This ought to have been the headlines, but it isn't. But while still on the subject of KEMSA, something interesting is happening to members of staff who work at KEMSA. The headline on page 2 of the Business Daily is KEMSA to renew staff contracts monthly as redundancy plans linger. Workers at the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, whose employment term will expire before September, as in this year September, not next year, will get monthly job extensions. Meaning, when you get to the month of October, you'll get an extension for October.
For a month.
That month. And you wait with bated breath what will happen the month after that. Okay? The drug agency, supply agency, not drug agency, said management had resolved to renew workers' contracts that lapse before now and September to offer all employees an equal opportunity to apply for jobs they want in the new structure. So KEMSA is restructuring. Will this solve the problem that KEMSA perennially has? The answer is it will not.
Why?
Human beings are the ones who cause problems, not structures. They are going to tell us that they have a structure that is tamper-proof. They'll tell us they have a structure that allows for transparency and accountability. And yet it's human beings who are going to man it. This one, I will be a doubting Thomas. When I see it, I will believe it, not before then. This comes at the time KEMSA plans to declare the current jobs redundant, meaning you're working in KEMSA, job about to go out of the window. Yes. And advertise them afresh in a restructuring plan to see only suitable applicants within and without the agency absorbed under new terms. So this time, are we arguing that those who've been employed in KEMSA were not suitable?
They will be vetted to see whether they are still suitable. They may have been suitable then.
But now it's a totally different story.
We just want to check.
But the 900 employees are facing this particular dire situation that we're talking about. Yes. So if you have a job Best case scenario, you'll be given an opportunity to reapply for your job, the one which you have. And they're saying that if there's any sacking, it's part of a cleanup for the COVID-19 scandal, for which no one who was involved has
been taken to court.
Nope, they haven't.
Yes.
And yet we are saying people have lost their jobs because of this. Okay.
I have some good news coming out of Oregon, USA. World champion again, Kenya bags a first gold medal as Faith Kipyegon reclaims her 1,500 meters world title. In Beijing 2015, she got silver. London 2017, she got gold. Doha 2019, silver. Oregon 2022, gold.
Progression is stellar.
Yes. She ran an insane 3:52.96 to regain her title. First gold for Kenya. This lady has done us proud.
Indeed.
What national honor have we bestowed on this lady?
Who, Faith Kipyegon?
We'll check and see.
She's been given something, I think.
They always get something, but in my mind is the something which doesn't.
It is something that. What is this something?
Yes, I mean, people like this, you give them the
somethingest.
Yes, exactly.
Of them all.
Yes, the one just below what the president gets. That one.
The somethingest test.
Yes.
Yes.
Because Faith Kipyegon wins. The whole world knows. Whole world.
Yes.
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 That is a country called Kenya. Yes.
She's done very well. She's done very well, and more. We hope to get more. I think the steeplechase is going to take place, or is it also taking place? Is it going on? Something. These things are happening just too early for my. It's just too early, Buana. Hey. Okay. So the headline in the Nation today is Gachagua versus Karua, right? Today is the second debate, the deputy presidential debate taking place at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa. We have two debates today. The first debate is between the running mate for Professor George Ojakoya and the running mate for David Mwaure Waihiga. That takes place from 5 p.m. A broadcast starts at 4 p.m., okay? And then at 8 sharp, it's the turn for Martha Karua and Rigathi Gachagua. Are they going to show up? Yes. They have declared that they are attending. But anything else, they'll be there. What's it all about? Rigathi Gachagua comes to the table with two major credits: his mobilization skills and reputation for spending generously in the search for votes. The former DO is also recognized for his experience in government administration and his tough, no-holds-barred approach to politics. It's also presumed that he knows where many of the skeletons are hidden, given his long stint at President Uhuru Kenyatta's personal assistant. Martha boasts reform credentials that include a record in the trenches alongside Raila Odinga during the multi-party campaign of the 90s, a reputation as a clean politician during her decades-long tenure as MP for Geshogo and a minister, and a tough-as-nails demeanor that has her often referred to as the Iron Lady or the only man in President Kibaki's government. Face Off this evening. It's about just hearing what they have to say and what they bring to the table. All right? Yes.
Yes. It'll be interesting to see what that will all be about tonight. Okay, so where did that go? This.
You want to do that one? I can do another one.
Okay, do another one.
Revealed, page 10 of The Nation. Kenyans are suffering under the stringent visa rules. Acquiring a visa in Kenya to travel to other countries is a perennial headache for citizens who sometimes end up missing out on important work trips, academic scholarships, and family events. Not just Western countries that throw up obstacles for Kenyans, but African nations as well. Kenyans are taken through strenuous processes that sometimes last years. Take the case of Diana, not her real name. She received a partial scholarship to study for a master's degree at a university in the USA in January last year. Her admission letter urged her to report to school in May last year. She believed that the university's letter, combined with the fact that her sister is married and lives in the US, would make it easier for her to get a visa. But her request was denied because, this is what she was told, her financial standing were not convincing enough. It's a scholarship. She does not comprehend how her finances were supposed to be convincing when she is a student in her mid-20s who's yet to finish a year in gainful employment. The university advised her to defer her studies for a semester and join in September last year. Come June, she reapplied for a visa after the required 5-month period ended since her first application went haywire in January. Despite making it clear that she was to join school in September 2022, she was given an appointment for October 2023. She then sought an expedited appointment, but she received an email last week informing her that the application had not been approved and her appointment for October 2023 still stands. It's not an easy process. It has been almost 3 years since I got my scholarship. I'm not even sure if my appointment in 2023 will be successful. I feel hopeless. This is a story of one among many. Another case is that of Fatima. She is married to an Australian national, but that has done nothing to help her get her partner's visa and permanent residence in Australia in a process that began in September 2020. On top of that, she has not seen her husband for about 3 years since he left Kenya to settle in Australia in late 2019. No sooner had my husband landed in Australia than the COVID-19 pandemic came and the country was locked down for the subsequent 2 years. My husband left me with our 3-month-old daughter, and he only saw her a few months ago when he came to Kenya after the travel bans were lifted. She said she required 7,000 Australian dollars, which is about 560,000 Kenya shillings, in September 2020. She was given an appointment in 2021. She thought an interview was all that she would need until she was asked to go for a medical checkup on August 13th last year at a facility chosen by the embassy. It cost her 38,000 shillings. She was also called to the embassy for her biometrics to be captured on November 4th last year. No communication regarding her visa application has been made since. She worries that if her application is not acted on by August 13th, she may have to redo the medical checkup, whose validity expires after 1 year. That's another 38,000 shillings just for this. Very many stories coming from very many people, and especially what's happening in these embassies right now. I think because of COVID, there's a backlog of applications. And now you apply for a visa and you are given a physical appointment that's 3, 4, 5, 6 months out.
Which almost beats the purpose of your travel.
Yeah.
Especially if it was, urgent.
Yep.
Quick travel.
Yep. And so it's
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
They got to find a way to sort it out. Because you have some people who, traveling for school, have to beat a deadline. If not, you defer your admission for a year. What are you doing? You've paid fees. For a lot of these schools, you've paid fees up front for a year.
Yep.
And then they say, this is your admission date. You do the due diligence and go well in advance, 6 to 9 months. And then they give you a visa appointment for that exact time, 6 to 9 months, in the time that you should be actually reporting in school. They really need to look at it and do something about it. They really do. Otherwise...
There was a story in the papers yesterday. I think we forgot to highlight it. Somebody was suing an embassy because they had applied for school in the UK and they had paid. And then they did not get the visa on time. And so they told the school, you see, we didn't come. The school was like, so,
it's non-refundable, sorry.
Yeah. So they're telling the embassy, the UK High Commission, please, then you pay us. Because we paid and we came here. And
you people didn't give us the visa
in time.
Absolute nonsense.
What? It's crazy.
Speaking about taking things further, former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko Gideon Buvi has filed a case before the East African Court of Justice, citing an unfair hearing by the Supreme Court. This came as the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission revoked the certificate issued to him last week, Thursday. Mombasa County Returning Officer Swale Ibrahim Yusuf wrote to Sonko informing him that owing to the Supreme Court's verdict, he was now ineligible to vie. In adherence to the Supreme Court judgment, you are therefore disqualified from holding any public office and thus disqualified from contesting and being elected as the governor of Mombasa County on any other county. Your candidature is invalidated and your certificate revoked. Boom. At the same time, the governor has filed an application before the Supreme Court arguing that he has new evidence that would move the highest court in the land to reconsider its judgment. Last week, a 7-judge bench.
7 judges sitting on a bench.
Voila.
That's
7 bench.
Not 7 benches.
Not 7 benches. No, 7 judges sitting on one bench. Composed of Chief Justice Martha Koome, her Deputy Philomena Mwilu, and Justices Mohammed Ibrahim, Smokin Wanjala, Jokin Dungu, Isaac Lenaola, and William Okoh unanimously agreed that the Nairobi County Assembly and Senate followed the law kicking him out of office. The court said Chapter 6, which deals with the integrity and ethics of public office holders, was not passed for cosmetic purposes. So at the EACJ, you might wonder, Sonko's lawyers Kennedy Odor and Arnold Oginga claimed that he had been unjustly persecuted, adding that the verdict was by a flawed judicial process. And they've said the decision by the Supreme Court was arrived at in an unjust manner. The decision by the judiciary system is tainted by an illegality, as the decision of the High Court, uplifted by the Supreme Court, influenced through corrupt means. So he's basically saying that the decision made by the Supreme Court, had a bit of mago inside. Yes. So he's taken it to the EACJ, and it will be interesting to see what verdicts will be given thereafter.
Oy.
So there's still a chance. He's still hanging on to something.
Never give up. It ain't over.
No, until the
it's
fat lady
it's never over. I am ready to go to jail. That is what Professor George Magoha is saying. Take me to jail. What's the problem? Education CS has defended his school inspection tours, which have been flagged by the Auditor General Nancy Gathongo for unnecessary expenditure on staff allowances. He said he prefers to personally inspect projects to ensure they're executed properly. I commission projects because I don't trust anybody. I must make sure I'm not given reports that cannot be verified. It's better to go to jail because you went to inspect a building than to be praised for or accused of spending money on an existent project. In her latest audit report, Ms. Gathongo accuses the top management of the Ministry of Education for spending over 10 million shillings in 2020 to pay daily subsistence allowances to staff from the headquarters to monitor distribution of desks to schools. She argues that the exercise could have been done by staff at the county offices at a minimal or no cost at all. But Professor Magoha says, I had to go and inspect. I had to tell the country desks are there because I know I have seen the desks are there. You want to take me to jail for that?
It's easier to say that than actually lie on the hard floor and eat cabbage. So,
Mago has learned the hard way. Yes.
Yeah?
Man,
you'll be lied to left, right, and center.
They'll spin some yarns you can't even believe. You wouldn't even imagine were plausible.
And the president will ask you, Magoha,
I gave you this thing.
Where are the desks?
So you said the desks were there at your Excellency.
The report that I got from my officers on the ground were telling me the desks are there.
Your officers on the ground.
I'll give you 10 billion shillings to construct classrooms. Where are the classrooms? Your Excellency, my officers told me.
And they gave me a report.
These officers that you put here with me.
These officers
who told me.
You gave me.
It is these officers that you gave me. What? But auditors have tough questions that they ask. Just thinking about auditors. You have budgeted your monthly budget. X is going to go for buying food. In the middle of the month, visitors visit. So, of course, you increase money for food.
Yes, man. After all,
visitors go. Auditor comes. Why did you spend this money? I had visitors. Where are the visitors? Can you show me anything that shows that there were visitors here? Anything? They went. They came with their clothes. They went with their clothes. I saw it. Do you have a photo that you took
on that day?
On that day that the visitors came. Okay. Report. We did not see any indication that there were visitors here, so it's possible that this money was eaten.
We have a visitors book.
Hey. Keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. Very good morning to you. George Mara, who is the Jubilee candidate for Kiambu senatorial seat, will be joining us in the next hour to talk about Kiambu County politics. We last week had a conversation with Karongo Adhango, who's the UDA candidate. We want to hear, is Jubilee still a party that has influence in this county? Good morning, 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Asset of Faith Kipyegon has won Kenya its first gold medal at the ongoing World Athletics Championship in Oregon, USA. She clocked 3 minutes 52.96 seconds.
Faith Kipyegon bidding to become the first woman to win 4 1,500-meter medals. This has been utterly extraordinary. It's not far off the world record. She hasn't just taken this title, she's absolutely obliterated the whole field. 3:52.96. Sege takes silver. Lauren Muir might have produced a national record. The double Olympic champion becomes the double world champion.
And former Olympic champion in 3,000 meters steeplechase Conseslus Kipruto brought bronze back home in the ongoing World Championships in Oregon. Conseslus Kipruto finished third place with a time of 8 minutes 27.92 seconds.
But El Bakali floats across the front. Now comes the acceleration. Kipruto is the defending champion. Girma, silver in Doha, silver in Tokyo. Can he somehow wrestle the gold away from Bakali? No, he can't. El Bakali becomes the first non-Kenyan to hold the world title as well as the Olympic title. And the silver goes to Girma once again. And Conseslus Kipruto makes it yet another medal. Coming back to form, he's on the podium with the bronze.
Congratulations to Team Kenya that continues to represent the country and fly the flag high. We say asante sana and keep on keeping on. Bring back home those medals. And now let's go to matters unga, where the price of unga in Kenya will drop from 230 shillings to 100 from today. This after the government of Kenya subsidized the price of production of the commodity for a period of 4 weeks. In the 4 weeks, the Ministry of Agriculture will pay part of the cost of producing unga so as to cushion Kenyans from the effect of rise in the price of the commodity. The Ministry of Agriculture will further deploy a team to conduct market surveillance and ensure that the commodity is sold at the recommended price. The recent subsidy follows one that would see the price of commodity reduced by 2 shillings after government's bid to suspend the levies on imported maize. This as UDA presidential candidate William Ruto and his supporters have accused President Uhuru Kenyatta of allegedly politicizing flour prices in the country. Ruto, who led his team in campaigning in Nairobi County, claimed that Kenyatta is using the issue to campaign for his competitor Raila Odinga. Ruto demanded questions as to why the government remained silent while Kenyans were suffering, further asking Kenyans not to be deceived by the reduction in the price of flour.
Si wamesema watateremsha bei ya unga, kumaanisha ile ilikuwa anatuambia ati mambo ya Ukraine ilikuwa tu ni ufala, ilikuwa tu ni kutuhadaa. Wanasikiza njaa kwa redio, wanaona njaa kwa TV, hawajui kulala njaa ni nini. Ndio unaona wanazubaa mpaka unga inafika shilingi 200. Ndio wanakuja na mambo ya nyuma ati wanatutega mambo ya uchaguzi. Sisi tutachukua unga, lakini kura tutapiga kwa mpango ambayo ni mpango ya kuhakikisha kila Mkenya ako na chakula.
Kenya Kwanza also wants the prices of other products to be reduced, just not flour.
Wacha kudanganya watu na kushukisha bei ya unga peke yake. Shukisha hata bei ya mafuta. Shukisha bei ya mchele. Shukisha mpaka ya chumvi na ya petroli. Sababu tunajua mpango wenyu ulikuwa ni kupandisha bei ya unga, muhonge watu na unga ya relief ya serikali. Sasa imekwama, mumeshukisha ya unga.
We'll be following up on these and hear what Kenyans have to say. Now, the Constitutional Court has ordered the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission to accept Reuben Kigame's presidential nomination papers regardless of a deficit in signature presented. Justice Anthony Mrima said given his disability, the effort demonstrated by Kigame in collecting signatures should suffice as far as meeting the required threshold goals. The Kigame County-led commission had removed the candidate from the race for failing to obtain the 48,000 signatures threshold, which was a requirement for the candidates in the lawsuit filed at the Human Rights and Division Court of the High Court. Justice Mrima also set aside a ruling that the IEBC Dispute Resolution Committee that upheld Chebukati's decision to knock him out of the August 9th presidential election. Mrima, however, declined to issue express orders requiring IEBC to gazette Kigame, terming the prayer inadmissible since the commission is the only body mandated to do so. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Asada. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
All right, a few minutes after 7 o'clock, and what does it look like in terms of traffic? It looks like it's picking up on the Thika Superhighway, and we will see that build up as you're going towards Pangani, that whole stretch. So we're looking at from really Kiambu County out into Nairobi County via the Thika Superhighway. Really heavy traffic this morning has already begun. Jogo Road is also doing the thing, and we're looking at in and outbound traffic as you're getting towards the City Stadium roundabout and then through to Landys Road. We'll see a pickup of that as well. Not looking too bad coming out of Westlands into the CBD. You can use the expressway, folks. We're looking at the exits with a bit of a pickle here and there, but nothing too painful at the moment. What else are we looking at? It's building up on Langata Road. That's to be expected. And we're also looking at North Airport Road spilling to Outer Ring. That's going to be an issue. The Southern Bypass feels, abandoned, folks. You can use the Southern Bypass. Not too much traffic there. Use it to get into the city and you will, avoid all the traffic otherwise. Let's talk after 7:30. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room. The only
7
way
after
to
7.
start your
Good morning
day.
and how are you doing? Welcome to the what hour of the show? The second hour of the show this Tuesday morning. Kenya's biggest conversation. Everybody's locked in on Spice FM, and there are people who are watching us on YouTube, and there are people who are also watching us on Facebook. Before City comes in the proverb, the issue of people complaining about passports. Dikush, who is a Kenyan living in the Philippines, says, why point at the visa issue with foreign missions? My own government expects me to cough 250,000 shillings one way on airfare alone to travel to Kenya for biometrics for the issuance of the new e-passports. Yet we have 2 Kenyan missions around the Southeast Asia. Sio ni criminal?
Totally.
Hiyo ni criminal.
Totally.
Hiyo ni criminal. Kabisa? Kabisa.
Good morning, boys and girls.
The proverb of the day is
That
brought to you by
which
Aquafresh
leaks
Fresh Gel.
cannot stay full.
Leak or leak.
This one, there is leak in Kiswahili kulamba. There's leek. I'm not sure whether it is a tuber, it's a vegetable, or it's a fruit. That one.
It's a tuber.
Okay. Then
The one
there
that's
is
like
leak,
onions.
as in maji inatiririka. It is leaking.
There's that word again.
Yes.
Tiririka. So there's
Drip,
lick, there's
drop,
leak and
drip,
leak.
drop, leak.
So which leak are you leaking now this time?
The leaking that I'm leaking is the LEAK version of it.
Oh, leakage. Kama exams.
Kama ile exams.
Not leakage. Kama lambage. Okay, sorry.
Ile mitiani.
Okay. That which leaks
cannot stay full.
Cannot stay full.
Brush your teeth twice a day with Aqua Fresh Gel, the secret to long-lasting fresh breath, teeth,
what
and
is it?
healthy
Nothing.
gums.
I'm okay.
Are you?
I am.
Are you sure? You better be.
All right.
Bei ya unga imeshuka, itashuka very soon. We talked about that. It's in the papers all over. Relief as unga prices fall to 100 bob per 2 kg packet. Politics of Ugali, prices fall by half. And this is according to some documents that have been seen where the ministry has a long name. It is the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries, and Cooperative. Very long ministry. Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries, and Cooperatives. That one is apparently going to be doing the job of nyinyi. Wewe kisiagi. Umesiaga unga. Unauza pesa ngapi? Mimi nauza 250. Mimi nataka watu wanunue na 100. Unataka ngapi? Lete 150. Sawa. And that's what they'll be doing. Now, Julia is saying, see that thing that Magoha was doing, going around the country inspecting, saying, is there a desk here?
Yes.
There's no desk. Why? Julia is saying they should do the same. CS Munya and his officials at the Ministry of Agriculture should also go around the country to every kiosk. Uko na unga? Unga ngapi? Unauza pesa ngapi? That. Go to the millers. Umesiaga unga? Ngapi? Weka kwa lori. I cannot pay you kama ijaingia kwa lori. Na iende kwa duka. To inspect and make sure that everything is there. That is...
Most significantly, it must be 2 kgs.
Yes, sir.
Na ijae.
Yes. Kenyans are going to sell you 1.5 kgs.
for the same amount. Yeah,
same amount. The really enterprising ones will sell you 1 kg. Says, yeah, Mia.
Yeah. I wonder at what point are they going to actually start? Are they going to receive? Is it at the point of dispatch? How much is in the shop? Or is it at the point of establishing? Because you see, and some unscrupulous miller could receive money and not release.
It is possible. It is very possible. But
wait for the 15th of August or thereabouts, or the 20th of August.
You know, the beauty of unga is that its consumption is so widespread that if there are anomalies, they'll be noticed very quickly. Yes. You don't even have to wait. The moment you're told they've been dispatched,
yes,
within the hour, people will be saying, where is it? Exactly. And then what happens to maize that is already in the on sale? The ones which are already in the shelves, the ones which are already in their store.
The people already have?
No.
People read this story today.
Yes.
You go to a shop and boss, unga ni mia.
Yes. That's the point. And what if you're a wholesaler and you've already bought, say, a month's supply?
Unga ni mia.
Right.
Before we introduce our guests into the show this morning, Kaizen says, okay, some translation. Leak is to vuja. Flow is to tiririka.
He's very right.
Kuvuja ile.
That is absolutely correct.
Na si kuvunja, kuvuja. Yes. Our next guest is in the studio. George Mara wants to be the next senator of Kiambu County on a Jubilee ticket. Good morning, George.
Good morning to you, Eric.
Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. How was traffic this morning?
Very light. Of course, you can start to imagine that when you wake up at before 5 o'clock, I don't think there are many Nairobians who are up that early.
Yes.
If they are, the traffic was very light, so it was easy to get here.
Kiambu Road is usually crazy.
Yes.
I don't suppose you use Kiambu Road. You must have used other routes to get here.
I did, by the way. I did. But again, like I say, the traffic was very light this morning. Of course, it was early.
It was
But
early
I guess by
enough.
now, traffic is picking up now, yes.
George, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you for occupying the hot seat this morning.
Thank you.
Let's talk about the politics of Kiambu and, of course, talk about the politics of the country, because you want to be a senator that is in the national legislature. Who is George Mara?
Thank you. My name is George Mara, born and bred in Limuru. Went to school here in Nairobi at the Starehe Boys. I have a degree a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Nairobi. I've been a businessman for the longest time in my life here in the insurance industry. But now I'm in politics, vying for the senatorial position in Kiambu. I want to serve my people of Kiambu as a second senator in the county. Yes, that's in brief is George Mara. Yes.
Why politics?
Oh, well, I've always had the passion to serve my people. And in fact, I vied in the previous past for as member of parliament. But now there's a space for me to serve my people at even larger and wider space. So I took that opportunity, and I was able to get the Jubilee nomination. Now I'm the Jubilee candidate, and the Azimio coalition candidate for Kiambu County.
You said you vied in the past.
Yes, I did.
For which positions did you vie?
Member of Parliament, Limuru.
Member of Parliament?
Yes, I did, yeah.
And the people of Limuru at that particular point did not share the same vision as you?
Oh, well, they did, by the way. But you know, politics, there are many choices.
Okay, so what could have changed? Because for you to have persisted, there must be something you saw, as you've alluded to. You must have seen and understood. Perhaps your understanding of politics got better. What has changed? Because what you're gunning for now is a far more competitive. It involves a much larger area than just the constituency of Limuru. So what is it that gives you the confidence to feel that things have changed significantly to give you, should we say, a more pivotal position in actually getting this thing that you feel you have wanted to achieve for a long time?
First of all, like I said, I have the desire to serve my people. And by extension, not just the people of Limuru, the people of Kiambu, and by extension, the people of Kenya. So when that opportunity arose to serve a wider constituency, of course, I took advantage. And that's why I'm here now. Okay. Because I believe by being a senator, I will impact on not just Kiambu matters, but national matters as well. Okay. So that's passion, yeah.
So the senator holds a position of oversight, right? And so how do you feel that oversighting what others are actually doing then will really impact in the county, coming from the desire to serve the people?
First and foremost, the duties and responsibilities of the senator is to help enact bills and laws that will help govern and devolution. And you know, as you know, devolution, now that we're in the devolved system, devolution is working in this country. And we need strong laws that will help, download devolution right down to the people down there. So my roles will be, of course, in addition to oversighting, to make sure that at the national level, counties are adequately funded. And as you know, there's this lobby, and I think we should continue to do that. That counties should be given at least 30 to 35% of the national GDP. So my role will be to make sure that there's sufficient funds being devolved right down to the counties, at all counties, not just Kiambu. And oversighting, because we've seen in the previous past, especially over the last 10 years, when we've been experimenting with the devolution, that sometimes these funds do not get down to the areas and to the people that they are meant to. So oversight is indeed is critical.
You know, when you talk about oversight, and especially now when you're talking about funds, several things that we've seen in the last 9 years of devolution. One, there's delays in disbursement of funds from the National Treasury to the counties. And then two, there's the issue of proper accounting for the monies that have actually been sent to the counties. If you look at very many counties, they have low absorption levels. Others have issues of integrity on how the money has been spent. As a senator, what role do you see yourself playing to make sure that, like you've just said, the money that is meant to go to Wanjiko in Lari, in Limuru, in Kiamaiko, or is it Kwamaiko? It's Kwa, goes to that person?
First of all, when it comes to the issue of disbursement, delay in disbursement, I suppose there's very little else, maybe at the Senate level I can do other than agitate, because this is an issue that sits squarely the Treasury. But of course, if you agitate and you bring out the problem, I think this is an issue that can be dealt with. When it comes to accounting, the senator has a serious oversight role. Yeah, and I think this is why that position was created, because without oversight, without control, it is possible for this country to go to the Nigeria way. You remember Nigerians, I don't know whether it still happens now, but there are times when governors in Nigeria, when they got their disbursements, would very quickly get on the planes and transfer the money into their foreign accounts and go for long extended holidays into UK, America, and so on and so forth. And we are lucky. This habit was not did not catch up in this country, and if it did,
it had a different name.
It's called benchmarking.
It's called benchmarking.
I think that particular horse has already bolted. If the hope is being kept alive, I think it's a bit late in the game for that.
I think here we're lucky here that we've been able to deal with those kind of issues. If you look at the cases that are in court involving our erstwhile governor, and I don't think I want to mention his name here. You can tell that at least there's some law is being followed here. He's not been allowed to just walk away with the loot, like the Nigerian.
When Amara, you've been in business.
Yes.
It's not possible to be in business and to be in business successfully if you're not disciplined and if you don't understand your trade well.
Absolutely.
Now, when you vie for a position of a senator, and the primary role of senators, as we say, is that of oversight. From where you sit, do you think this particular sitting of senators that are now who are now in the cold, do you think they did a good job of oversighting the counties, in your opinion?
So some of them, I don't think I want to condemn them holistically. Some of them did, and others did not. Of course, in the last parliament, there are many people who sat in there and they did not understand their roles. And that includes sitting members of parliament and some even in the Senate. But there are those who understood their role, and they came out in the defense of the Constitution, devolution, and their people. Those who participated in impeachment, seriously in impeachment issues, you can tell that they wanted to help curb some of these malpractices. But there are those who just sat on the wayside and just watched. So there are those who are active and help this nation. And that's why you saw some few cases, maybe not many, but that's why you saw cases of governors being put on trial. And some of them were actually impeached.
Let me explain why I'm asking the question. With the exception of counties that I can count on just the fingers of one hand, with the exception of those counties where the governors seem to understand their role and are able to even fulfill those roles, very many counties in this country had governors who seem to be chasing their tails for the 5 years, some for 10 years. Because if you look at the track record, vis-a-vis the amount of money in billions, if not hundreds of billions of shillings spent, there is very little to show where that money actually went. But it was spent nonetheless. And the Auditor General's reports are full of queries within these counties. Now, that's why I ask, if the Senate was doing what it was supposed to do, how do you have, because the anomaly doesn't occur just once every 5 years, it's continuously for 5 years. Now, if they couldn't curb this, because oversight enables you to curb, and the net result of this is that the people of these counties simply were denied what was due to them and the very thing for which the monies were given, because the monies didn't achieve what they were supposed to achieve.
Correct.
Now, when you become senator, I'm being prophetic here, what do you think it is that you plan to do that will be different and that will ensure that the people of our counties actually get what they're supposed to get? But more importantly, that the sort of governors whom we have, many of whom in this particular this past 5 years have actually been outstanding in their incompetence, that we do not have people of that sort darkening our paths in this country again. Because you can't have that amount of money being given to people who are not competent. It is wrong.
You know, this is a problem that starts all the way from down there.
Yes.
Because the governors and the senators, for that matter, are a product of the people. It's we get what the people choose. So if you like in the computer language, if you put in garbage, you get that garbage out. Yeah. So these governors are a product of the people themselves. But this is where the Senate comes in. Senator comes in. If the senator understands his oversight role, then they will be able to drastically reduce some of these malpractices. And one of the things I intend to do is regularly consult and sit with the county assembly and the governor, just to make sure that these funds that are devolved to the governor are actually put to use for the purpose that they are meant to. Because if you are detached, then that is when you have a few problems. And of course, you do know that in a lot of instances, the senator and the governors don't see eye to eye. In fact, for a lot of senators, it looks like the Senate seat is a stepping stone to the gubernatorial seat. And that creates a lot of tension.
Is the cat out of the bag, George? Is that where you're headed?
No, absolutely no. I'm not.
That's a strategy.
I'm talking about
other people except yourself.
Other people. What was actually
perception out there.
If you look at what has happened, most of the outgoing senators want to be governors. Okay, so if there were any oversight roles, they were done with from at the best of their own personal interests.
Right.
Yes, but that's not where I'm headed. But if it is, so be it. But time will tell.
Why you for this position of senator? What is it peculiar or unique about you that you feel you could fill the shoes of this role well?
Well, this is about leadership. As I say, I have a real life experience. I've been a businessman, and I have passion both in terms of politics, leadership, and of course, trying to see that things are done in the right way. I have no issues when it comes to integrity issues. So I believe I'm well suited to serve as a Senate, and I'll take my role as a senator and oversight very, very, very seriously, because I've seen what has happened. And as I say, if a senator does not understand his role, then you'll have a lot of problems, and those problems impact negatively on the way funds are dispersed at the county level.
Sure, you talk about funds being dispersed to the county level. What would be done differently that is not being done now? What goes to the counties is what we're told is often available coming from the National Treasury. That is what is available. They may delay every now and then, but the funds eventually get to county. What would be different that you hope to push?
I think first of all, one of the reasons one of the things that we want to do is make sure that there's sufficient funds being sent down to the counties. And I think that is important, because some of the functions that at the county were devolved from the central government to right down to the county. And we need to fund the county sufficiently so that they're able to carry out their mandates. We also need to encourage them to strengthen the other sources of revenue. There are many other sources of revenue. And although this is strictly the governor's role, but we also need to encourage them at all levels.
Maybe give ideas, for example?
Give ideas, yes.
Okay, so what are some ideas that you think could fill in the gap of own source revenue within the counties? What are some things, apart from the things that we see on a normal basis, business licenses, etc., that make up the bulk of own source revenue? What other things could bring in revenue to the county, aside from what comes in from the Treasury?
Of course, one of the main things is that we want to encourage investment at the county level. And how do you do this? Streamline the licensing laws, so that they encourage. If you look at our county, Kiambu, there are times in the past when we had a lot of industries coming into Kiambu. In fact, a town by the name of Thika also was actually nicknamed, and aptly so, Birmingham of Kenya. So now it's no longer Birmingham of Kenya. It's probably something else, but it is possible to get it back to be a Birmingham of Kenya. And this needs to be looked at holistically. What do we want there? Improve infrastructure, the licensing bit, and get a lot of land available, okay, and other incentives. So it is possible. And when you do this, you're not only increasing revenue for the county, you're also creating jobs at the county level. These are some of the measures that we need to put in place so that the county can increase revenue. And of course, the other thing is that you lower the licenses. If you lower licenses, it is possible then to trap a little bit more, a wider trading group than just pushing a few traders and with high licenses. They will avoid or evade. So if you lower licenses and encourage other people, encourage your traders to pay, it is possible then that you widen your revenue streams.
You know, George, we have very many questions. In fact, even some of them coming on social media, and we'd like to delve into those as we continue the conversation. But we want to take a break now. It's 7:30. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation on SpiceFM, live streaming on YouTube, SpiceFM KE, on Facebook, SpiceFM KE, and our website, www.spicefm.co.ke. Have you heard of Pocket, George? Pocket by Mozilla. It's an app by Mozilla. You go to Google Play Store, Apple App Store, depending on whatever gadget you're using.
How do you spell Mozilla?
Mozilla.
Okay.
So with Pocket, you are actually able to save a lot of content that you consume. I'm sure you consume a lot of content. You read a lot of content online. You find articles. You're doing some research. You're finding podcasts or some videos. So instead of opening very many tabs on your phone and you just don't know where one is, or you sometimes even lose. Yesterday, David Day told us that he has a Word document. He finds an interesting article, copies the link, posts that Word document which he saves, and it's called Read Later. So it's now 3 pages long. Instead of doing all those things, just save them in the Pocket. And then you're just able to curate your own content the way you want to see it. And you'll be...
Especially now, there's a lot of content coming our way. It's not possible to
read all the content at the same time. Yep. You consume it later, and you can even consume it offline. Which means that if you're taking a flight from here to somewhere, you can occupy your time going through your content. Pocket by Mozilla, available on Play Store and App Store. We'll be back shortly with George Mara, the Jubilee candidate for Senator, Kiambu County.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Standard Group's Farm Kenya initiative is the umbrella entity for all agriculture-related channels, activities and investments. The media platforms under the Farm Kenya initiative include the Smart Harvest Weekly Pullout in the Saturday Standard, KTN Farmers TV, a 24-hour agribusiness TV station, Maisha Kilimo, a weekly agriculture show on Radio Maisha, AgriTalk on SpiceFM's morning show The Situation Room, and Grind na Agribiz on Vibes Radio morning show Morning Vibes. Find us online at www.farmers.co.ke, an integrated website that creates and aggregates agri-content, hosts a digital marketplace, and wide range of agri-data. Other platforms include specialized events such as the annual Mkulima Expo, quarterly Farmers Kenya Breakfast, and dedicated social media platforms at Farm Kenya 254. Farm Kenya, working to secure your growth.
Guess what? Cold Stone Creamery has amazing deals for you to indulge every day. This month, enjoy deals on 2 cups of creamy delicious ice cream from as low as 600 shillings and ice cream cakes from as low as 1,800 shillings. Visit any of our stores in Nairobi or Mombasa and indulge. Cold Stone Creamery, the
Looking at
ultimate
cloudy
ice
conditions
cream
in Nairobi,
experience.
chance of rain later. We will see in Nairobi highs of 26 and lows of 14. Looking at other parts of the country today, in Nakuru, we will see highs of 22 and lows of 12. All right, what else are we looking at? Nyeri town this morning. Cloudy conditions, highs of 22. We will see highs of 21 in Eldoret, where it's currently cloudy. Mombasa rain showers continue, highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 28 in Malindi. Kisumu will see highs of 29 today, and we'll see highs of 27 in Kakamega. Looking into Kampala, rain showers continue. We're going to highs of 28 today, and we'll see highs of 30 in Dar es Salaam, where it is cloudy now. Joburg, 8 degrees and climbing. Lagos, cloudy conditions, going to highs of 29, and we'll see highs of 29 in Kinshasa as well. All right, traffic building up in major parts of the city today. We're looking at the Southern Bypass, which doesn't look too bad. There's an escape for you. It's coming off that Likoni interchange because it's coming off Jogo Road with quite some traffic this morning. Heavy inbound traffic. In and outbound as well. As you're going towards that City Stadium roundabout, you're going to spill over to Landis, which has built up significantly. Inbound traffic going towards Kamkunji is also quite the thing right now. Langata Road also quite packed as well going into the city. Let's watch out for that. What else are we looking at? Coming out of Westlands doesn't look too pretty right now, but you should be all right once you get past that Waiakiwe junction, then heading out towards Chiromo. Not too bad on Gong Road. As you get into the city, that should be all right. All right, North Airport Road coming off towards Outer Ring. Not too bad. This morning traffic is continuing to build up as we go along. Let's talk, guys. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let's know where you might be stuck, where you find a good route this morning, and let's use them.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
23 minutes to 8. The conversation continues on Spice FM. Eric, Latiff, Okoh, CT Muga, and our guest, George Mara, who is a Jubilee senatorial candidate for Kiambu County. George, Kiambu in the last 2 terms. 1 senator, 3 governors. There's a lot that appears to be happening in Kiambu. Impeachment of a governor, impeachment of CEC members. Back and forth, attempts to even remove a speaker of the county assembly. The politics of Kiambu is high tempo.
First of all, it's very unfortunate. Our first governor was able to serve at least his first term for the first 5 years. We had the second governor who was not able to. Of course, for reasons that are very well in the public domain, he was impeached. Now we have the third governor who is vying for the second term, his second term to be so to speak. But it is indeed very, 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 very disappointing because Kiambu, as it is the second largest county, both in terms of population, even if you look at the GDP after Nairobi, and we should be far away from where we are. But I guess those are politics. But politics can also be fixed. That is why we're offering ourselves so that we can try and fix some of those problems. And one of the reasons I'm there and I want to vie is to make sure that even at the county level, I become a voice of reason, because some of these things can be tackled at the very local level. If the senator is present, even in matters of the county, then you're able to pick up some of what is happening. You talk to the governor, you talk to the members of the county assembly, and you're able to arrest some of these situations right at the beginning. Because when you go the impeachment way, when you have fights, when you have battles, the first thing that happens is that development is put at the back seat, and fighting, and sometimes even corruption sets in. And this works, of course, to the disadvantage of the county and the residents of the county. So I want to be a voice of reason and constantly liaise with the governor and members of the county assembly, so that at least we can see if we can address some of these problems before they become the mountains that they are in terms of trouble. And in that, I think I want to tell the people of Kiambu. I know the Constitution reserves a position of the senator in the county, and I'll constantly and regularly go to the county to make sure that I'm in touch with what is happening at the county.
What would you say are some of the problems that the county is experiencing today that need immediate action? Claw back on some of the mistakes made and then often or maybe create an atmosphere of development for the future?
First of all, I think we've got to look at the people that we're electing. If you put the wrong person at the right place, then you definitely start with problems. I think, and I think, I don't know how I'm going to put this, because the electorate needs to understand this. If you put in a governor who does not understand his role, who does not appreciate how important the county is, then you're starting at on the wrong foot. At the governor level, you've also got to be focused for yourself and have focus and have the capacity to be able to think even beyond outside the box in terms of development. Then there's the issue of corruption, because we set in devolution, but we never set in good laws to be able to curb and contain corruption. So we ended up devolving corruption. So one of the issues that the governors have to deal with at the local level is corruption. And those are the problems that now manifest themselves to the level and extent that you find governors being impeached. Sometimes being held ransom by the members of the county assembly, because some of them want a little bit more than they're entitled to, and they push the governor to levels and extents that he probably is not able to.
But what are the problems that Kiambu County is facing today that need good governance structures to be able to deal with? If you were to hear the voice of the pulse or the pulse of the people on the ground, what would they say their needs are? What would they say the issues that need attention at the county are today?
The issues are many. First of all, let's start with the issue of health. And I think it's important to state here that when you have a healthy nation, a healthy population, then that translates to a healthy nation. We need to seriously address the issues of health. I don't think the kind of health issues that we are facing at the county level need a radical change, the way we're looking at them, the way we want to address them, because people down there's a lot of sickness. People are sick, and then it's expensive. It's very, very, very expensive. So we need to look at it differently, and that's why I'm saying we need a lot more money coming in from the national government, so that our people, the issue of health can be addressed in a more serious way. There's also the issue of education. A lot of our children are out of school because education is starting to become out of reach for them. There's also the issue of unemployment. I don't know what we are going to do, but we need to sit down seriously at the county level, even at the national level, because when you look at Kiambu, we have hundreds and thousands, maybe millions of youths who are out of employment. It's a serious problem, and it's a ticking time bomb. There's the issue of alcoholism. It's rampant, and it's to levels that I think we need to seriously look at it, maybe declare it a disaster in Kiambu. Those are some of the issues. And of course, we have issues on infrastructure, we have water issues, and all these need to be addressed. That is why we need a lot more revenue coming in from the national government.
What do you mean by that?
And of course, improvement.
When you say a lot more revenue, we saw the debate in the Senate with the allocation of revenue and the formula. And there's been a push by some legislators for 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling. Others are saying 1 kilometer, 1 shilling. Where do you stand on that divide?
Mine is 1 vote. 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling.
Why?
I think to me that is a better way to equitably distribute resources. Yeah, I think if you look at the people of Kiambu, we are many in terms of population. But when it comes to the funds that we receive, if you distribute it, surely, if you compare it to other counties, a person in Kiambu probably be receiving 100 shillings, whereas somebody else in another county will be receiving maybe 1,000 shillings or even maybe a lot more. And the problems and the needs are basically more or less the same. It's not to say that just because Nairobi, Kiambu is endowed with agriculture and a bit of and some businesses that we don't have needs. We have needs, and our needs are just as much as those as other people in other counties. So that is why I would strongly advocate for the 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling policy.
How do you deconstruct this perception out there? That for the longest time, even people when they're going out to campaign, when you're talking about privilege, you say Kiambu. If they want these things, let them go to Kiambu. There's that, perception that Kiambu is privileged. It produced the first president. It had many ministers. It has produced vice president. It has produced a second president. Kiambu is the proximity to Nairobi. Kiambu, in terms of national schools distribution within Kiambu, how many universities are in Kiambu? If you look at how many hospitals are in Kiambu, the agricultural land that you're talking about, the commercial land that you're talking about, Kiambu is privileged.
We're talking about the industry.
Thika and the rest, and Juja and all.
So some of these are historical, in the sense that Kiambu is very close to the capital city of this country. The others, of course, and I think this is true. For the longest time, the Kikuyu people have had this culture that they want to invest in education and they want to invest in business. So that becomes a culture, okay? It has nothing to do with favorism. It's just the way people are wired, okay? And I think people if you look at people, say, in around Banana, for them, they'll put more emphasis on business than maybe education, okay? So you can't fault them for trying to own parts of Nairobi or doing business in Nairobi or other parts of the country, because that is the way they are wired.
But when you go to the Senate, Mara, and you're having a conversation and a debate with your fellow senators, some from those historically marginalized counties, how would you justify saying that you want more money to go to Kiambu, yet somebody from Marsabit County, the largest county in landmass in this country, they have never had the things that you're talking about here? For the longest time, the children of Marsabit, when they were going to the best school, they'd go to Isiolo.
It is true that for some time some of these areas were marginalized. And again, these are historical facts. But I do know for sure, starting with the Kibaki government, a lot of emphasis was put in to bring in all people together. And I think, and that is true even with the Uhuru government. There's development taking place literally everywhere. But of course, like they say, Rome was not built in a day. So even these places will catch up at some time. There's the issue, of course, distances. There's a cultural issue again. Okay, there are the areas and there are people who are receptive to business and business ideas than others. Okay, like I say, people in Banana and Muranga area. Okay, for them it's business. Their mind is wired in a business way. So you can't fault them. So I'm sure even with time, like I say, Rome was not built in a day. People in Marsabit will start to feel and experience the effects of devolution, the good government, and these developments are being taken to the areas.
One of the things that is interesting about our country, and I am glad you have actually conceded that certain parts were marginalized. Actually, historically, certain parts of this country were favored. Yes, and they were favored by policy. We had sessional papers that determined how development should come to the country, following the railway line. Written, not something that people talked about as hearsay, fact. Now, again, you are right when you say devolution sets us on a path where some of these wrongs can actually be put right. But they cannot be put right just by allocating money. And, I'm hesitating because I'm trying to piece this argument in my head. Every time this subject comes up and we have guests in the studio, they always go back to say that, the politicians are a product of the society that they live in. And so essentially, if there's a problem with the way we govern ourselves, it's the problem of the voter. I actually beg to disagree. Because the voter votes with hope. And the voter hopes that the person they have voted for is the person who will lead. Little emphasis is put on the role of leadership. Because people who aspire to these positions, when they get them, they seem to think that leadership involves lordship, where you lord it over people. You are a mild form, very mild form of a dictator, and that it is you who decides what should happen, and never considering what it is that the people actually need and doing it. They talk about it. It is because of this that, again, I'm a dog with a bone on this one. The role of oversight becomes really important. Because oversight calls it out and says, this is what ought to be happening. It's not happening. This is what you said was going to happen. It's not happening. Very few senators do that. And to our disappointment, even when there are cases that committees have been formed within the Senate to discuss these matters, when it comes to the outcome, it's an absolute letdown. The suggestions that they make, the action that they suggest should be taken, you actually wish they hadn't gone into the bother of investigating the issue. Because it amounts to, it's a zero-sum game. Now, you want to be senator of perhaps the best-known county in this country. Kiambu is known, it's known more than any other county in this country. What are you going to do? Yes, you will point out. Yes, you will meet with your people. Yes, you will talk. But how will you influence policy that will guarantee that not only Kiambu County benefits, but that the rest of the country also benefit from this county system?
First of all, I want to say that I'll be a servant leader. And I think it's important to also listen to the people. But even in listening, you must also offer leadership, because that is what leadership is all about. If you're a leader that just listens and you're not even providing leadership, then it itself is worthless. That leadership is worthless. But I must admit, the last 10 years have been a learning curve for us. We've been learning. We've just downloaded the devolution over the last 10 years. And in fact, lots of it are still being downloaded. So we are not there. We are not yet there. Okay? And I guess this is where you start to see all these problems. In fact, it was like a case of putting the cart before the donkey or the horse. We should have first of all started with the serious laws. Look at the laws that will govern devolution, and then now implement devolution. And we should even have given ourselves an extra 5 years or 10 years. And in doing so, then we would have started on the right foot. Now we have ourselves in a situation where we have devolution. And all these mistakes are occurring. Now we're rushing back to start to write laws that will govern devolution. And of course, there will be resistance. And that, I think, is the biggest problem. That, I think, is the biggest problem. We should have started with the laws, then now implement devolution. Okay? But as you rightly put, it is important. Because without the Senate, then devolution does not work. Okay? Devolution will not work. Some people may even want to argue that the functions of a senator can perhaps be best done by a committee in parliament. But that is not possible. That is not possible. Again, some of the issues that we have in parliament. Okay? We'll never even be able to effectively implement devolution. So it is important to have the Senate, but in doing so, we must also give the Senate some teeth so that we can deal and help in the implementation of devolution as desired by the people of Kenya and the Constitution. The senators that we send there must also understand their role. because it's not just good. It's not enough to say I want to become a senator. You must also understand the duties, the responsibilities, the functions of the Senate. If you do, then you're in a better position to start executing your duties and responsibilities as a senator in the Senate.
Bonamara, would you say you're a courageous person?
Well, yes, there are many more attributes to be, but courage is one of them, because politics, you have to be courageous to be in politics, especially in the Kenyan context.
There's a reason why I ask if you're a courageous person, because the qualities you mentioned may not be lacking in many individuals who end up in the Senate. Courage is the one thing many of them don't have. They have very elastic backbones when it comes to decision making, and they're pliable and they move. They actually stop becoming human beings, become wind vanes. The way they just flutter around in the wind. So, to the point where you actually confused and you wonder, what did we elect? Courage, you say teeth. No one's going to give it to you. You have to have the courage to fight for it and to get it.
Correct. Yeah.
Because the National Assembly is not going to cede power willingly.
No, they will not.
So
we've seen that.
That's why I said, I asked you if you have courage, because it requires a serious backbone. Not the elastic kind that moves from one place to the other.
Well, they say that power is not given.
It never is.
It never is. We have to fight for it.
Ever given.
And if we have to fight for devolution, because devolution means, well, not just for the people of Kiambu, but for the people of Kenya. And if devolution is going to work, because we can start to see the good things that devolution has done. The government is closer to the people than it has ever been. You know, in the olden days, there were funds, but these funds were devolved in people's pockets. Now, people, even that right down at village levels, can be able to sit and make decisions on how their funds are going to be used when they do get to them. So, as you say, I have the teeth, I have courage, and I'll fight for people of Kiambu. And I know that when I do so, I'll do so by extension, fighting for the people of Kenya.
How would you want the people to hold you accountable to these words that you speak today? How would you like them to come back to you and say, you know what, George, you said you were going to do this, and you haven't? What do you think then would be the requisite action for inaction on your part?
First of all, this is my first term. This will be my first term, and definitely, if I want a second term, I must be able to be seen. I must be seen to be able to deliver on my words. So I'll definitely do deliver, and like Muga says, I have the courage.
So, in the perchance that you do not, how would you like the people to hold you accountable?
I don't think I want to use that word, I will not, because I'm sure I have the capacity to be able to deliver on exactly what I'm talking about. I've been able to do so in the previous past, even as a social leader. So I think even for me, this one, all I need is the opportunity to be able to serve my people, and by extension, the people of Kenya as a senator. And I'm sure, I'm confident that I'll be able to deliver.
I want to ask you the final question. You are vying on a Jubilee ticket.
Yes.
Jubilee, UDA, those two are really down for a battle in Kiambu. And not just Jubilee, UDA. In fact, let's just say Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. How is it playing out right now? What's the ground looking like? Be honest.
I'll be very absolutely honest here, Eric, because at the beginning of the year, it was very difficult to stand even in a crowd of 10 people and say that you are a Jubilee supporter, let alone even mention the name Raila. You know, those were the formative stages of Azimio. But today, you can confidently stand, and out of 10 people, 7 people will tell you, yes, I'm an Azimio person. What am I saying? If they say that the mountain has shifted to whatever else that it has gone to, it has come back to where it should be. And now we are able to sell Jubilee, Azimio, and Raila very, 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 very confidently. In fact, Raila is now at the top of the mountain. That is the truth on the ground. It has moved, it has shifted, yes. And I'm sure that our coalition will be winning these elections by 6 o'clock on the 9th of August.
Oh, the polls open at 6.
In the evening.
Oh,
that is the PM. Thank you for that.
By 6
o'clock, 6 p.m. on the 9th of August, we'll have crossed the 60%
threshold.
Yes.
George, thank you very much.
But there's something I wanted to say.
Yes.
Because I think these are, even as we close, are we closing?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Because there's something I would have wanted to say. First of all, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to come and talk to my people. But secondly, there's something that is that has a bit uplifting this morning. You know, Kenyans, we've just talked about many problems, the Unga politics, the Unga problems, so on and so forth. But waking up this morning, I saw that one of our ladies, Faith Kipyegon, had won the 1,500 meters in Oregon. That is something to cheer us up, especially after what happened with Omanyala.
Yep.
Okay, so I want to congratulate Faith and all those other athletes, Corinne and so on and so forth, and those others that are lined up today and tomorrow for their races, and we want to congratulate them. And this is one area that where we all Kenyans unite and celebrate our Kenyanness. And I think it's something that is very uplifting.
Very true.
I want to congratulate those people.
Very
yes,
true.
Even as we talk about the Unga politics
and everything
that
else.
Is something.
George Mara is
the
Jubilee candidate for senatorial seat in Kiambu County. He's been here with us. Keep it here for more conversations. It's 8 a.m.
Yes.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 SpiceFM.
Good morning, this is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Kenya and Seychelles have signed a record 10 agreements to cement the historical cordial diplomatic relations the two countries have enjoyed since they became independent. President Uhuru Kenyatta and his host Wavell Ramkalawan witnessed the signing of the pacts at State House Victoria in the Indian Ocean island nation of Seychelles.
We've had the opportunity to resolve that we need to further cooperate on matters peace and security, especially with regard to maritime security. You and I share the belief that Africa has the potential and the know-how to forge a much better future for her people, especially our young people.
I have expressed my gratitude to President Kenyatta for the assistance provided by the 50 Kenyan healthcare workers who were recruited by the Ministry of Health in March 2020 following the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Key among the agreements signed was one on cooperation in the blue economy sector, which seeks to enhance capacity building and exchange of expertise in the governance aspects of the blue economy, as well as bolster the circular economy and collaboration in the aquaculture sector.
As lawmakers, you have a sovereign duty to ensure that we have a legal framework that upholds the fundamental rights and freedoms of our people and ensures equity, justice for all, and promotes the rule of law.
Now, former Nairobi Governor Sonko has moved to institute contempt proceedings against the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission chairperson of Kiambu County and Mombasa returning officer Swalha Yusuf for striking him off the Mombasa gubernatorial race. Through his legal counsel, Sonko held that his candidature is still valid on the basis of Article 193(3) of the Constitution, and therefore the revocation by Mombasa returning officer Yusuf is untimely. According to Sonko, he is protected by the Constitution and can vie for the Mombasa gubernatorial seat with the pending review in court.
Remember, the decision of the Supreme Court, if it is upheld, it is a permanent imprisonment for Sonko, that he can never hold any public office till he dies. Probably he can go to get another public office in heaven, but in this world he can't. It is such a grave question. It is not a light matter that destroying one's career permanently. Governor Sonko does not know any other profession other than the profession of politics.
After the government assured Kenyans that the Bay of Unga would reduce from 230 shillings to 100 shillings, UDA presidential candidate Deputy President William Ruto and his supporters have accused President Uhuru Kenyatta of allegedly politicizing flour prices in the country. Ruto, who led his team in campaigning in Nairobi, claimed that Kenyatta is using the issue to campaign for his competitor Raila Odinga. Ruto demanded questions as to why the government remained silent while Kenyans were suffering, further asking Kenyans not to be deceived by the reduction in the flour prices.
So wamesema watateremsha bei ya unga, kumaanisha ile ilikuwa anatuambia ati mambo ya Ukraine ilikuwa tu ni ufala, ilikuwa tu ni kutuhadaa. Wanasikiza njaa kwa redio. wanaona njaa kwa TV, hawajui kulala njaa ni nini. Ndio unaona wanazubaa mpaka unga inafika shilingi 200, ndio wanakuja na mambo ya nyuma ati wanatutega mambo ya uchaguzi. Sisi tutachukua unga, lakini kura tutapiga kwa mpango ambayo ni mpango ya kuhakikisha kila Mkenya ako na chakula.
The Kenya-Kwanza team is instead asking the president and the government to reduce the prices of products in the country that have also skyrocketed.
Wacha kudanganya watu na kushukisha bei ya unga peke yake. Shukisha hata bei ya mafuta. Shukisha bei ya mchele. Shukisha mpaka ya chumvi na ya petroli. Sababu tunajua mpango wenyu ulikuwa ni kupandisha bei ya unga, muhonge watu na unga ya relief ya serikali. Sasa imekwama, mumeshukisha ya unga.
Our reporters are stationed across the country following up on the development, also asking you what you think about it. Is it just another political gimmick, or will these last in the long run? All that will be coming in a subsequent news bulletin. My name is Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Good morning. Traffic building up on Mombasa Road a little bit here and there as you're trying to get into the city. Won't be too bad until we get to that Nyayo Stadium roundabout, or rather Nyayo Stadium turn off, and then getting onto Uhuru Highway well into the city and then out towards Westlands. So that continues to build up. We're also looking at traffic coming off of the Thika Superhighway. That still remains pretty heavy. And we're looking at that coming towards the Pangani underpass. Kiambu Road also continues with traffic this morning. We're looking at traffic then coming off of Westlands as well, but it's not too crazy. We're in traffic hour proper now, and we'll see that build up mainly in the CBD this morning. Jogger Road is a thing, in and outbound traffic, back to back, and it's really heavy from what we see this morning. Let's keep an eye on things, folks. Tell us where you are. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation
7
Room,
minutes after 8. Good morning. Welcome to the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room on SpiceFM, on Facebook, on YouTube, on KTN Home. We have a new guest in the studio, the ambassador of Ukraine to Kenya. Before we welcome him and introduce him to the show, let's hear the day's proverb.
Good morning, boys and girls.
Our second proverb from the country of Namibia. That which leaks cannot stay full.
That which leaks cannot stay full. It's constantly losing.
Constantly losing.
Draining.
So you keep pouring it in and it keeps losing. So it never quite fails.
Okay.
And if it appears to be full, it's only for a moment.
Pretty obvious, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, but then the meaning may not be that obvious.
Meanings are very rarely just one thing. That's the thing about Proverbs. A multiplicity of definitions that can be derived from just this simple proverb. Yes.
Stop the leak.
Yes.
To remain full.
Yes.
Okay.
Brush your teeth twice a day with
The Ukrainian ambassador to Kenya
long-lasting
His Excellency Andre Pravitic is here with us in the studio. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, Your Excellency.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me to the Situation Room. I'm honored to be here today, and I hope that we'll have a very fruitful and useful discussion.
You know, we call this the hot seat. I am not sure whether it would be appropriate for it to be called the hot seat for you. You've experienced some hotter seats, but no, this is the hot seat of Kenya's biggest conversation. Karibu.
It might be a hot seat to me too.
Indeed. Ambassador, a number of things have happened in your country in just the last, 5 months? And your country has then occupied the global news cycle over the last 5 months because of what has happened. Of course, this must have started earlier. This must have been, a build-up of something. But in February, Russian troops invaded your country. And since then, a lot has happened, not just in your country, but globally. What is the background to this? What is the history between that led to Russia's invasion of your country?
I can talk about the history of Ukrainian-Russian relations for hours. I understand that we have time limitation, and I will really do my best to be brief. All that started thousands of years ago. At the 8th century, the state called Kievskaya Rus had been established with a capital city based in Kiev, which is my home city and which is the capital of Ukraine. Then the Kievan Rus existed as a sovereign state and one of the most powerful states in Europe for 400 years. Then Tatar Mongols came with the invasion of all that state, and Kievan Rus stopped to exist as such, and after the Tatar Mongol invasions, different sovereignties had been established, and one of them was Moscovia, and the name was Moscovia because the capital city of that state was Moscow, which actually had been established by the Kievan ruler called Yuri the Long Hand, or Yuri Dolgoruki as we call him. And then in the beginning of 18th century, very end of the 17th, beginning of 18th, Peter the Great, the Russian Tsar, came to power. And he actually been advised to change the name of the state from Moscovia to Russia. The reasoning behind that was that by using the first 3 letters in name Russia, is Rus, they tried in a way to pretend that they're continuators of the old Kievan Rus. And from that on, they were trying to steal our history. They were trying to subjugate Ukrainians. They were trying to ban our language. And many other atrocities, to be honest with you. But thanks to Ukrainian resilience, we stood and we've preserved our culture, we preserved our language, and during the history, we've actually been independent 3 times. The first time was the second part of the 17th century, and we managed to stay independent for a little bit more than 40 years. Then Peter the Great actually again occupied Ukraine, Russian troops rather, on the orders of Peter the Great. Then the second time we've been independent only for 5 years in the beginning of 20th century, from 1917 to 1922. Then actually then Russian Bolshevik troops came to Ukraine and made us to join Soviet Union in 1922. Now it's a third chance for Ukraine to stay independent. We became independent in 1991 on the 24th of August. Now we'll commemorate, because it's no time for celebration, but we'll commemorate the 30 first anniversary of our independence this year on the 24th of August. And I hope this time that independence is forever. At least the whole Ukrainian society is determined to fight for our independence, for our identity, for our future and future of our kids.
What has been, if I may ask, Ambassador, what has been if there were elements or factors that has remained the interest? I mean, we're looking at from the 8th century, Russia's interest in Ukraine. Are we seeing the same things up until date? We're looking at hopefully another independence this year. Are we looking at more or less similar issues that remain the interest of Russia in Ukraine until today?
Unfortunately for us, Russian being an empire has a view that all East Slavic nations are part of Russian identity. Even Russian President Putin on many occasions stated that Ukrainian and Russian language is the same language. And Ukrainian language is not a separate language, but rather a dialect of Russian language, which is not true. And I can also spend hours talking about that, but I can give you a sound example, which I really like. Love in Russian is любовь. Love in Ukrainian is кохання. The true fact is, and I have to be honest, and I'm not going to use any propaganda here, that around 20-25% of words used in Russian and Ukrainian languages sound similar, and some of them even have the similar meaning. But still, 75 to 80% of words are different, having different meaning, sound completely different. And although we can understand Russian language due to the fact that we've been forced to be part of Russian Empire for centuries, it's not our language, and our own language is Ukrainian. It's different from Russian, and by saying that Russian and Ukrainian is the same language is, I would say honestly, my opinion, is a huge mistake.
It's a fallacy.
Definitely, that's the Russian policy, and not only Russian president, but most of Russian political elites for centuries, and now trying to use the propaganda to prove to Russian people the fact that we are the same, but we are not. Okay, we have something in common from our history. That's a correct fact, and I'm not going to argue that. But we are different, and we want to live our own lives, and we don't want anyone to say us how we should live, what society we should build, what unions we should join.
It sounds like sorry, City.
No, go ahead. Please.
Sounds like, Your Excellency, the way you've even given us the history of the Ukrainian people from Kiev. There's always been some interaction with other peoples, and in some cases, maybe some influence coming in from other peoples, whether it's the Russians or the others who came in, or the Mongols, or even after you gained your independence and you declared this last independence in 1991, there has been external influence, either coming from Europe or coming from Russia. Is there a period in which the Ukrainian people have actually exerted influence into other cultures and not vice versa?
Oh, definitely. It goes back to the 11th century. Again, I can talk about that for hours, but I can give you one of the most famous examples. The daughter of a ruler of Kiev's Rus, whose name was Yaroslav the Wise, Anna Yaroslavna, as we call her. She was the wife of the French king Henry II. And the interesting and hilarious fact is that she could write and read and he did not. And on the decrees, he put the cross and he signed them on royal edifices. And she brought the Bible from Kiev to France, and from then on, all French kings make the oath of allegiance on that Bible in the Reims Cathedral. And this Bible is still there in Reims Cathedral. Means that we have that interactions with different nations in Europe and beyond, starting from the 11th century. And definitely when we got independence in 1991 again, we start interacting with all the countries. And our foreign policy goal is, and always will be, to interact with all the countries in the world, trying to build friendly relations, trying to be friendly, trying to help countries if there is need for that, to develop their science, culture, to develop our ties with people-to-people contacts. Because we consider people-to-people contacts as one of the most important tools of the foreign policy, I could say. Because again, if you're only trying to build up relations with political elites of the particular country, but not trying to build the same relations with people, I think that foreign policy will not be successful. That is why we always paid a lot of attention to establishing direct contacts between people of Ukraine and foreign countries. And I am proud that I'm trying to do the same here in Kenya. And I'm here for a little bit more than 3.5 years. And I can tell you honestly that I was enriching myself by your culture. And I really got to know a lot of things which I didn't know before I came to Kenya. And I'm really, really happy about that.
Your Excellency, it's a tripartite question. It's 3 in 1.
Okay.
Are there ethnic Russians who are citizens of Ukraine? If indeed they are, what percentage of the population are they, and in which part of the country do you find them?
The Russian minority, as we call them, consist of probably 11 to 12% of Ukrainian population. Means the population of Ukraine now is around 47 million people. That means that around 5 to 6 million people are ethnic Russians. They have been living in Ukraine for centuries. And I can tell you honestly and proudly that we never try to ban Russian language, as Russian propaganda are trying to tell to the whole world. Even now, if you go to Ukraine, you can find TV stations, radio stations, which use Russian language. You can come across with a number of people talking Russian, and no one trying to ban Russian language, never ever, and no one will beat you for talking Russian. That's all Russian propaganda and fake news. And I can tell you that I personally know a lot of Russian-speaking Ukrainians who are now fighting at front lines. And to prove the fact, anyone can go to YouTube or TikTok or Instagram and find hundreds of short videos where Russian-speaking Ukrainians are asking Russian troops and asking Russian president to go where the Russian ship went.
Around the beginning of this particular invasion of Ukraine, there are incidences that occurred at the border. And unfortunately, those incidences that were highlighted by the world media involved African students. Now, it painted a not too pleasant picture of Ukraine. Please comment on it.
When the invasion started, it was really a challenging situation. Hundreds of thousands of people were trying to flee from Ukraine. Among them, thousands of African students. And I have to be honest with you, and I have to acknowledge the fact that there were some, or I would say rather few occasions where African students treated in not right way.
Yes.
But first of all, I would like to apologize for that. Although I'm convinced that even that skated cases, few cases which took place, were not intentional and were not with intention to show, superiority of Ukrainians over African people and African nations and African students. I would ask you to take into account that Ukrainian border guards worked so hard, 24/7, that probably on some occasions they were not polite enough. And we already apologized for that. I'm apologizing now again for that. And believe me, we really care about African students who were studied in Ukraine, whose dreams were ruined as a result of Russian unprovoked and unjustified invasion of Ukraine. Because all these young African students were happily studying in Ukraine, were enjoying life in Ukraine, dreaming of get bachelor degree or master degree, dreaming of starting their own business, their own career. Now all these plans have been ruined, because all of them had to come back to their home countries or go somewhere else to pursue their studies. But I'm sure that when the war ends, we will be happy to greet a new wave of African students coming to Ukraine. And I'm sure that will be the case, since Ukrainian education and the quality of Ukrainian education is one of the best in the world. But it's better than some others, because the price you have to pay is not as high, and is not as high as many other countries. But still, the quality is very high, especially in electrical engineering, in aerospace, in IT, in medicine. And that's mainly all the subjects and all the areas of studies which African students usually took.
Your Excellency, what is the human toll? What is the impact of Russia's invasion on Ukraine today? It may be difficult for us to really appreciate the extent to which an impact has been had on Ukraine by this invasion. So what are we looking at as of today?
As of today, we are looking on two different things. The first thing is destruction of infrastructure. Hundreds of kilometers of roads, hundreds of bridges already destroyed. The number of hospitals, schools, residential buildings, offices. That is what, when we take into account infrastructure and immaterial objects. But we also have to take into account the human sufferings. For now, around 3 million Ukrainians had to flee to different countries. Most of them from areas where hostilities took place. Most of these people lost their homes. Many of them even lost their close relatives. And additional to, these 3 million who had to flee, there are 7 million internally displaced persons. Not to mention that by of today, thousands of civilians had been killed, among them almost 600 kids. The last kid killed by Russian missile is a 4-year-old girl, and she was killed during the Russian missile attack on city of Vinnytsia, on residential areas, on civilian objects, not on the military installations. And that girl was only 4 years old, and she's not with us anymore. And why the kids had to pay the price? It's not understandable. And I think that all those who committed these atrocities, all Russian soldiers, all Russian officers, will be brought to justice rather sooner than later.
Let's take a break on this note. It's 8:30. This is the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. We're live on SpiceFM, KTN Home. We're also live on YouTube and Facebook. Coming out into the break with Ambassador, His Excellency Andrei Proverb. He is the Ukrainian ambassador to Kenya. We are talking about Russia's invasion of Ukraine several months down the road, the impact that is having on the country and the impact it's having on the world, especially when it comes to energy, when it comes to food. We'll be focusing on the food issue and the food crisis that's developing in Africa. About 18 million people, food insecure, directly impacted by what's happening in Ukraine, just in East Africa. Very many people who've left the country, like the ambassador has told us. What's all this about? Let's take that break. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Mama Kim, mambo poa. Niuzie toothpaste ile ya Power 3. We nawe, ati 3 nini? Toothpaste ya Power 3. Yani Aqua Fresh Gel. Aqua Fresh Gel. Hiyo ni gani tena? Wacha nikwambie.
Aqua Fresh Gel ni dawa ya meno ya kipekee iliyothibitishwa na Power ya 3-in-1. Piga mswaki mara 2 kwa siku na siri ya usafi wa mdomo, fresh breath.
I hope you don't believe that Hustler is a poor person. Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
The group of leaders we are having now, Kenyans, listen, the chemical composition is the same. You will mold them to ODM, then NASA, you mold them to Kano, mold them to Jubilee, mold them to any other different color sometimes, but the chemical composition is the same.
It's not about me as Nurdin Haji, but it's about the constitution that I swore to protect. So when individuals attempt to hoard those powers and they want to be investigators and also prosecutors, then of course I have to defend that position because that position is in the constitution and that's what Kenyans wanted.
I'll tell you what happens is that when you ignore court orders, you're creating and quoting anarchy. Then you create a very dangerous precedent.
A story is told of the first president of the country who also went to visit Madare, presidential tour. And of course, he went to this place and he introduced himself. So one of the enemies says, kuna jina kama yangu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Cloudy conditions at 14 in Nairobi, highs of 20 and lows of 13 today. Sunny at 15 in Nakuru, highs of 23. And we'll see highs of 18 in a rainy Nyeri this morning at 12. 15 and mostly cloudy in Eldoret, highs of 21 and lows of 13. It's raining in Mombasa at 23, highs of 27 and lows of 22. And we're looking at light rain at 25 in Malindi as well, going to highs of 27. It's mostly cloudy at 21 in Kisumu, highs of 27 and lows of 17. And we're looking at clouds as well in Kakamega at 21 with highs of 26 and lows of 14. The sun is out in Kampala, highs of 25 and lows of 18 today. Mostly sunny conditions at 22 in Dar es Salaam. We'll see highs of 28 and lows of 21. It's 9 degrees and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 17 and lows of 8, and cloudy at 23 in Lagos. We'll go to highs of 29 and lows of 23. And it's 20 and clear in Kinshasa. That'll be today's low, going to highs of 28. All right, continues in most parts of the city. We're still well in traffic hour this morning. We're seeing most of the action coming around the eastern part of the city. Jogo Road, really heavy inbound traffic. Lunga Lunga is doing the same thing as well. Likoni Road not looking too bad. We'll get some traffic at that Likoni interchange that feeds off to the southern bypass this morning. Langata Road also continues with traffic. Aerodrome Road is jam-packed heading towards Uhuru Highway. Going to need a lot of patience for that one this morning. We're looking at Ngong Road, also quite tight, coming from well ahead at that junction towards Karen and then going on to the further Ngong. So that is moving really slowly. Coming out of Westlands, that still continues. James Gishoro looks jam-packed as you're trying to get onto Waiaki Way today, so let's keep an eye out for that. Your exit on the expressway causing a bit of a hold-up today, but nothing too painful. Let's just keep our wits about for that. What else is going on? Outer Ring doesn't look too bad today. Traffic seems to be flowing, except at that little nook coming off the North Airport Road. Keep an eye on things, folks. Let us know what's going on where you are. SpiceFM K on Twitter.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It's 25 minutes to 9. Good morning if you're just joining us. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room on Spice FM. We are live on KTN Home. We are now also live on KTN News. We are live streaming the show on YouTube and Facebook. It's Eric Latiff, Ndu Okoh, CT Muga. Our guest this morning is His Excellency Andriy Pravenik. He is Ukraine's ambassador to Kenya. We are talking about the impact that Russia's invasion into Ukraine has caused not just on Ukraine, but to the rest of the world. Your Excellency, we have seen various calls, even from African leaders, on there is this situation in Ukraine to be resolved because it's impacting not just Ukraine, but impacting the rest of the world. We're talking about energy. We're talking about food and food supply. You've heard our own president talk about, all right, we are seeing the rise in fuel prices. It has some sort of correlation with what's happening in Ukraine. The food prices going up, there is correlation with what's happening in Ukraine. Are there any attempts being made at resolving this issue between Ukraine and Russia?
Okay, I have to start from saying that, as my president stated on many occasions, we all understand that the peace could only be reached by negotiations. And despite the fact that Russian troops were invading and continue invading Ukraine, we were prepared for negotiations, and in the mid of March and the end of March, we had a couple of rounds of negotiations. The last one had been arranged by the Turkish President Erdogan in Istanbul at the end of March. And during that round of negotiations, we presented our written proposals to Russian side, how we see the peace agreement and ceasefire. Unfortunately, we never received any official answer in written form from Russian Federation. There were some comments made by spokesperson to Russian president and some other politicians, but that was all. We never received any official answer. And Ukraine proposed different different provisions how we can reach ceasefire and how we can reach peace agreement. And we went as far as to propose to put aside the issue of Crimea as a separate track and to have a separate negotiations on that. But then what we've heard as a reply from Russian side, but not official one, as I mentioned before, was, no guys, we are going to demilitarize and to denazify you. Crimea is a part of Russia and you have to accept it. It's not under discussion. And we are going to fight Ukraine until the goals of, as they call it, special military operation would be achieved. And initial goals of that operation, and they still confirmed the main ones, is do not denazify and demilitarize Ukraine. But with the pace of time, they started to use a different argument, and the last one used by Russian side was that we were planning to attack Russia, Ukraine and NATO, and that is why they decided to start it before we start our attack.
It was a preemptive attack.
Like a preemptive attack. You're absolutely right, sir. But all I can say is that is complete nonsense. It's Russian propaganda, fake news. Ukraine never planned to attack or to invade any other country, any other neighboring country. We are a peaceful country. We were building Ukraine. We were developing our agricultural sector. We were developing other sectors of our economy. And last year we had a record high crop of 80 million metric tons of grain. Yeah, the first time in our history. And that is due to the development of our agricultural sectors by our own farmers. And we were planning to have an even bigger crop this year, but unfortunately Russian invasion started. But even despite that fact, I have to share that with you, Ukrainian farmers who very often suffering from missile attacks or bombs, they actually sowed their grain to have a crop this year, and we already got 3.6 millions of grain of this year crop. Means Ukraine, despite all the hostilities,
you're still producing food.
We're still producing food because we understand our responsibility before the international community.
Has Russia made any formal message or sent any formal message to Ukraine with regards to Ukraine's desire to join NATO?
Not just informal, but formal ones. Couple of years ago, a Russian president made it clear that Russia will never accept any further expansion of NATO to the east. But the strange, I would say, if it's the right word to use, thing is that when it comes to Ukraine, Russia and Russian presidents say no further expansion of NATO to the east, will never allow Ukraine to join NATO, but at the same time, his military operation, as he calls it, or rather unprovoked and unjustified invasion to Ukraine, brought completely different result, that Finland and Sweden joined NATO. And they are also, east of Russia, means there's further eastern expansion of NATO. And what Russian president said about it? He said that It is a sovereign right of Finland and Sweden to join any unions they wish. But why that is not the case with my country, with Ukraine? We also have sovereign right to decide what unions to join. But in the meantime, Russia thinks that we don't have that right. For whatever reason, I think that is based, again, on what we already discussed before, on history and on Russian understanding of history.
Are you prepared to not join NATO?
I would say that if it requires a long-standing peace, I'm sure that Ukraine would be prepared to consider the possibility of not joining NATO. But again, we can only consider the issue if we receive strong security guarantees from international community, because we don't want to experience another Russian invasion in 30 years or 50 years or 70 years, and these guarantees should be legally binding, which means that in case if Russia would try to attack or to invade Ukraine again in the future, the guarantor state would intervene and will help us to defend our country.
Those would be the barest minimums through which we will say, all right, let's have some peace here, if it is guaranteed that Ukrainians' independence is maintained.
Definitely, you are right.
All right. So the issues that Russia would seek over and over again have not changed over 1,000 years. They still remain the same today. But here we are saying that for the sake of peace within Ukraine and for what we're seeing happening around the world, Kenya feeling the impact of this invasion on Ukraine, other countries in the world feeling the impact, a global sense of insecurity because of this. Would Ukraine then be in the position to say, for the sake of those things, then we can let down our guard and say, if you don't invade us, if you respect our sovereignty as a nation, then we're ready to let other things go. Are we at that point?
Not completely. And I will try to understand why I use the word not completely. Definitely, if we have security guarantees for international community, then we are fully prepared to negotiate a long-lasting peace. We are prepared to negotiate ceasefire. But there is one important red line which we will never cross, that the sovereignty over entire territory of Ukraine. What we have now, we have Ukrainian Crimea being temporarily and illegally occupied by Russians from 2014, for 8 years by now. We have, before the 24th of February, we have parts of Donetsk and Lugansk region of Ukraine being occupied by Russians from 2015. Now, even more, they occupied parts of Zaporizhia region and Kherson region and very small part of Mykolaiv region, that all regions in the south of Ukraine. And the Russian plans are to create so-called Novorossiya, as they call it, and to, in a way, cut off Ukraine from the sea and to make Ukraine landlocked country. And definitely, it's a red line we'll never go beyond under no circumstances, because it's our sovereign territory, and we'll never allow anyone to take that from us. And one of the preconditions from our side is that Russians should give up occupation of all that territories, at least in the mainland of Ukraine. And as already mentioned, at the beginning of our conversation, we were prepared to put the Crimea issue as a separate track, but and to have a separate negotiations on Crimea. But in case if we offered by Russians to start negotiations, but at the same time Russia would refuse to give up occupied territories, then it's not an option for Ukraine, because again we will have to acknowledge parts of our sovereign territory as part of occupation and Russian regime, and we will never allow our people live under Russian occupation. That is why, to sum up, Ukraine is prepared for negotiations. We realize that the only way to reach a long-standing peace is negotiations. But if there is no willingness of Russia to give up these territories, then I have serious doubts that these peace negotiations or possible peace negotiations might be effective. And because we'll never agree, again, I can only repeat myself, that we'll never agree with the fact that around 20% of our territories would remain occupied by Russia.
Your Excellency, when you look at the invasion, if you were to sum up the toll, there's the humanitarian toll, there is the economic toll. How would you sum it up?
It's huge. Again, it's difficult to give you the exact figures of the damages inflicted by Russian invasion,
yes,
but they're definitely enormous. And according to different preliminary estimations, the total damage caused by Russian invasion amounts to 600/800 billions of dollars. Billion of dollars. Yes. Look, take city of Mariupol. They've completely ruined one of the biggest and most efficient metallurgical plant in Ukraine called Azovstal. The only cost of rebuilding Azovstal is $25 billion. One plant. Take into account hundreds of bridges, hundreds, if not already 1,000 kilometers of paved roads, schools, hospitals, residential buildings, offices, airports. Now, okay, you cannot fly to Ukraine. Okay, the one reason is safety. Okay, but even if the safety situation would allow anyone to fly to Ukraine, almost every single civilian airport is ruined by Russian missile attacks. The only one still intact is Lviv and Uzhhorod, two airports in the western part of Ukraine. But there is no guarantee that Russia will not strike them, let's say, tomorrow or today.
But from what you're saying, it appears that Ukraine is defending itself, but it's Ukraine that constantly is attacked. Has Ukraine made any advances into Russia? Have they pushed the Russian troops back to any degree?
In some areas, yes. In some areas, initially they invaded and they were trying to get control over Kyiv, over Chernihiv region, Sumy region, Kharkiv region, and city of Kharkiv. All these four areas, we've managed to push them back. In Kyiv, back to Belarus, Sumy and Chernihiv back to Russia. Kharkiv, we initially managed to push them back to Russia, but they slightly advanced again. But still, the city of Kharkiv is under Ukrainian control. The only challenge for that big and beautiful city is that it's under constant missile attack and artillery attacks every single day. We've advanced in some areas in Kherson region, and we hope that with increased inflow of ammunition and weapons, and sophisticated ammunition and sophisticated weapons from our partners, we will be able to counterattack and liberate, again, at least parts of our territory very soon.
Balozi, earlier I'd asked you the relationship between Ukraine and the rest of the world and how you interact with other countries. Let me come back into that issue. Even now, during this Russian invasion of Ukraine, Ukraine has welcomed foreign fighters to come and help fight and repulse the Russian forces. Ukraine is receiving a lot of military support from America, from Europe, in terms of dollars and equipment. No boots on the ground. This is all going to a battlefield that is inside Ukraine. What is the toll in this? The toll is thousands of Ukrainians killed, millions of Ukrainians displaced externally and internally, thousands of dollars or billions of dollars, like you've said, of infrastructure being destroyed. Will you at some point look back and say, in the best interest of Ukraine, let us take decisive action on how to end this invasion, this war that's taking place in our country?
Definitely, we are thinking of that. But again, I would like to reiterate again, my dear colleagues and listeners, that we are talking about the existential existence of Ukraine as a state, Ukrainians as a nation. We are talking about the future of our kids, and we are talking about our own future. And we know that we have to pay a high price. The toll is high. Every day, a number of Ukrainians are dying at the battlefields, at the front lines. But we know the price in a way. We really understand that if we fail and if we allow Russians to succeed, then it will be probably no Ukraine. It will be probably no Ukrainian nation. It will be Ukrainian nation, but it will be scattered all around the world, because I'm convinced that most of Ukrainians will never accept living under occupation again.
Is there a price too high?
The price is really too high. We know that. But again, I would like to come back to the point that we are not saying no to negotiations. We are fully prepared to negotiate. But in our understanding, negotiation should be undertaken in a way in no preconditions. But when you come to a negotiating table, and one side, and in that case I will be very, very open with you, Russia, put on the table some preconditions which are by themselves are not acceptable to us, then these negotiations will not lead to a long-lasting peace and to a solution which would guarantee Ukrainians to live in peace. And that is why it is so important to continue international pressure on Russia that Russia should actually not bring to negotiating table any preconditions, that the only way to reach long-lasting peace and a solution will guarantee the existence of Ukraine.
Do you think the rest of the world is taking sufficient action to see an end to this, looking at the cost of this to the rest of the world in terms of even food security?
I think that it would not be probably correct to say the whole world, but the most of world nations support Ukraine. And I can only mention the resolution, UN General Assembly resolution adopted at the beginning of March, called on the Russian aggression to Ukraine, and that resolution had been supported by 141 countries. The UN membership consists of 193 countries, meaning that more than 70% of the countries in the world voted for. That means supported Ukraine in its fight against Russian aggression and Russian invasion. Definitely, a number of countries assist Ukraine with ammunition, weapons, with medical supplies, with everything we need, but not just to fight, but also with a lot of humanitarian assistance, since, as we already mentioned, internally displaced persons need shelters, need places to live, need some clothing, because homes had been ruined by Russian missiles and bombs. And we really appreciate it. Definitely, there are a number of countries in the world which support Ukraine in the international organizations, and we really appreciate that support. And I would like to express our gratitude to Kenya, and gratitude from all my compatriots and from me personally to Kenya for being so supportive, especially within the realms of international organizations. And I'm sure all of you, or most of you, heard the statement delivered by the Kenyan permanent representative, Ambassador Kimani, which actually was really great one, and actually showed the strong support of Kenya, of Ukraine's independence, sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Ambassador, thank you very much for speaking to us this morning. Ambassador, His Excellency Andriy Provenik, is a Ukrainian ambassador to Kenya. He's been here talking to us about the latest, the war in Ukraine, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and the impact that it's having to the world. Asante sana.
Thank you very much indeed. It was my honor being here today, and I hope that I'll have another opportunity in the future to talk about the peace solution and rebuilding of Ukraine. Thanks.
It's now 9 a.m. Good morning.
Is determined.
Spice up your life.
Independence for our identity, for our future and future of our
The
kids.
latest news.
It says the war in Ukraine destroyed lives, including education of many people, including African students, whose livelihoods was disrupted due to the war in the country. It says it remains hopeful that after the war is over, they will be happy to have more African students in the country, further apologizing for scattered incidents in the country that disadvantaged the Africans when the war was at its peak.
We already apologized for that. I'm apologizing now again for that. And believe me, we really care about African students who were studied in Ukraine, whose dreams were ruined as a result of Russian unprovoked and unjustified invasion of Ukraine. Because all these young African students were happily studying in Ukraine, were enjoying life in Ukraine, dreaming of get bachelor degree or master degree, dreaming of starting their own business, their own career. Now all these plans have been. I'm sure that when the war ends, we will be happy to greet a new wave of African students coming to Ukraine, and I'm sure that will be the case since Ukrainian education and quality of Ukrainian education is one of the best in the world.
On the impact the war has had, he says that the war has destroyed the Ukrainian infrastructure, including schools and hospitals. It says the war has brought about massive human suffering, including internally displaced persons and death of citizens, including children.
The first thing is destruction of infrastructure, hundreds of kilometers of roads, hundreds of bridges already destroyed. The number of hospitals, schools, residential buildings, offices. For now, around 3 million Ukrainians had to flee to different countries. By of today, thousands of civilians had been killed, among them almost 600 kids.
Our thoughts to the people of Ukraine and pray for lasting peace. Now, UDA Deputy Presidential Candidate Rigathi Gachagua has confirmed attendance in today's presidential debate. Gachagua visited the venue of the debate at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa, where he was briefed on ground rules by a team led by the Secretariat Clifford Machoka. Gachagua will be battling it out with Martha Karua Azimio la Umoja, Ruth Mucheru of Agano Party and Justina Wambui of Roots Party. A statement from the Presidential Debate Secretariat says the debate will be held in 2 tiers, starting at 5 p.m. with candidates whose popularity rating based on 3 recent opinion polls is less than 5%. It will be followed by candidates with above 5% popularity rating who will face off each other from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Remember, Standard Media Group will be beaming that debate live to you. Be sure to tune in and be part of that conversation as you approach the August 9th elections. And authorities have apprehended a suspected Al-Shabaab terrorist and recovered a cache of weapons following an operation in Lamu's Milimani area. The police said the suspect was arrested by the General Service Unit personnel following an intelligence-led operation to flash out remnants of Al-Shabaab militants believed to be hiding in the vast Boni forest. Weapons recovered include 1 RPG launcher, 1 RPG heat warhead, 1 booster and 2 booster housing, according to the National Police Service. According to police, the suspect had a visible suspected gun-inflicted wound on the left leg above the ankle, believed to have been sustained in the previous foiled attack. And Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha says the government will not rescind its decision on changing the management at the Kenyatta University. Magoha said at no time should there be management gaps at the university as the government waits for an application that has been filed in court to determine the legality of the suspension of Paul Wanaina as VC and the ceding of part of university land is heard and determined. Speaking at Chanyu Girls High School in Thika while opening newly constructed CBC classrooms, the CS said no judge can change the status that the government has the right to use its land in whatever way it deems fit for the people's welfare. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Still in traffic out this morning, and we're looking at coming off the Thika Superhighway really slowly towards the Pangani underpass. We're going to have to keep an eye on that one. Looks like we'll end after traffic hour today. Jogo Road, not too bad. Trickling of traffic, then getting towards the roundabout at City Stadium. Landis Road, really heavy traffic in and outbound. Kamkunji, then heading on to Haile Selassie, also packed as well. Langata, not giving it up just yet. We'll keep an eye on that too. Kiambu Road. That started really early today, still doing the thing, as well as Limuru Road coming past the village market out towards City Park. All right, your exits on the expressway giving a bit of a fever today. We'll get over it in no time, I'm sure. All right, that's what it looks like. Getting on to Outer Ring, not too much of a headache right now, but Juju Road looks packed at some junctions. Let us know what's going on where you are. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
I like listening to you guys. You're the default radio station in my car in the morning. Even the children listen to you guys.
I agree Parliament has failed this country. And I will say it again. We have not done what we should have done.
We know in this country, the Kenya prison sector is one of the most underfunded sector.
The way it is being done and the way we're calling it Huduma Number the Msema Kweli is because all records will be there. You know, there are people who are now billionaires with no history as to how they got all these assets.
Yes. Anything that the president does that is not in accord with the constitution is an illegal act. You know, he shouldn't be doing it and he shouldn't be sitting here and trying to sort of guise it up.
I totally believe live transmission of results and allowing Kenyans to be able to view all these results. I believe that it will be impossible to steal elections.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
This nation has never healed genuinely from the 2000-2008 violence. We've never had a healing process. We've swept it under the rug.
Let me tell you, the handshake was the most disastrous political event in the history of country after the coup attempt of 1982.
There's no Kikuyu pothole, no lack of water,
right.
or Kamba, lack of traffic. Yeah. There is no Luya lack of drugs in the hospitals. Or Jaluo one.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom.
9 after 9. Good morning. It's the 19th day of July 2022. Welcome to the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this lovely Tuesday morning. CT has the day's proverb.
Good morning, boys and girls.
The proverb of the day is brought to you by Aquafresh Fresh Gel.
Yes, Dubu.
That which leaks cannot stay full.
That which leaks cannot stay full. You've got to seal the leaks.
You have to seal the leaks. Unless that is the general plan.
Yeah.
That it never stays full. Because it's applying elsewhere. Yes. See, a leak by its very definition implies wastage.
Yep. Unintended.
Yes. So if indeed it is planned for.
When it's planned for, what do you call it?
See, plant
drain.
Drain. Plant leakage.
Watering.
Actually, you're right. You're right, because if you think of stormwater drainage, yes, it's planned for. We know there'll be plenty of water, so let's make arrangements to channel it in the direction we want it to go to. It is.
Oui.
Yes, yes.
That which leaks will never get full.
Brush your teeth twice a day with Aquafresh Fresh Gel, the secret to long-lasting fresh breath, strong teeth,
What do you make
and
of
healthy gums.
that conversation with the Ukrainian ambassador?
In many ways, it's a difficult conversation. It's difficult because for the longest time, that part of the world, one assumed that wars were a thing of the past, something you refer to historically. I didn't think in my mind that I would see a situation where I'd see one country attacking another. You see, what we're accustomed to, even within the confines of our continent, is a country fighting within itself. Different factions fighting. But this issue of some other country literally invading another, this is something that it's been long in coming. I mean, one hasn't seen it in a very, very long time. Yes.
It's interesting too, because I also get the feeling of the general fed-upness that probably the country has then when it comes to the blatant disregard of state sovereignty. That it is not I mean, you can imagine a country then seeking for its third shot at independence in 2022.
Yes.
This is what we're talking about. And so, I mean, over and over they've been invaded. Nobody really...
A new century.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a total disregard for the sovereignty of a state that they've invaded, say, okay, we'll do whatever, the hell we want, come and do it again, and then, take another shot at it. And you're thinking, these are a sovereign people who live within the boundaries, of a demarcated land.
With their own distinctive...
With their own rules, with their own leadership, with their own governance, with their own country.
And their own aspirations.
Absolutely. And you can just come and say, look, it's ours, we will take it and do with it as we please.
But I also get the impression, Eric, from the question you asked, the Russians seem to have been misunderstood that this will not take a long time.
Yeah.
No, it was supposed to be done and dusted and in the bag. For
maybe a week or so, and we've walked through and they've surrendered, and then we can go about our business of colonizing it yet again. When a war drags on for this long, you get the impression this was not what had been envisioned.
It wasn't the plan.
No, it wasn't envisioned in this. And this, so meaning it isn't quite working according to plan.
No.
Yes.
I don't think this one, they're not taking it lying down, maybe in the manner in which they did previously.
There was always that question of what is this discussion about the Ukrainians joining NATO? During the Cold War, there was the Warsaw Pact, and then there was a North Atlantic Treaty Organization. One understood those demarcations. Warsaw Pact watered down to the point of almost non-existence. Now, the issue about the threats, you see, Russia borders many countries, and that Sweden and Finland decided to join NATO, it's not insignificant. Remember, Finland has had issues with Russia for a very long time with regards to boundaries, with regards to borders and so forth. And the interesting thing about the history of Europe, you'll find, people talk about colonizers. You think of Central Europe, you think of England, you think of France, Portugal, even Sweden. The Swedes were colonizers. Just so that you understand. Yes, if you look at the history, the country of Estonia was colonized by the Swedes at some point. Yes. So this shifting and movement of borders is something that has happened for a long time. But the understanding was that by the time we got to this century, it will have quietened down. People have respected the borders that they have. And that if there were issues...
That means the dominant people would have won.
Actually, that dominance is never stagnant. That's the whole point. Because if you look at the USSR, who would have thought it would have disintegrated? If you looked at Yugoslavia, who would have thought Yugoslavia would have disintegrated? So that dominance that you speak of, it's, yes, a phenomenon that exists, but it's never really lasting. Not really.
Hardly so.
Yes. Look at the dominance of the USA and the civilization that come with it. Would you say it is growing or it's dwindling? I'd say it's dwindling.
Absolutely. I mean, you wouldn't be hard-pressed to find many incidences through which you can make that argument. Absolutely.
Yes. That's true.
I mean, and then when you find that there are others who are coming up in just as much strength or even more, that's how you know that the dwindling of the same is a reality. It is.
Empires are not eternal.
Indeed.
Nope, they're not. So we are also reaching out to the Russian embassy in Nairobi, and we want to invite the Russian ambassador here so we can also hear their side of the story. We've heard from the Ukrainians and their side of the story. We'd like to hear the Russians and their side of the story and whether they also have any intention of seeking peace. Of course, they'll tell us that they do. Now, what's happening locally? On the Kenyan front, the High Court in Nairobi has ordered the electoral agency to look at gospel artist Reuben Kigame's application to determine whether he should be in the presidential race. Justice Anthony Mrima yesterday found that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission had treated Kigame unfairly based on his disability. According to the judge, the artist's efforts to gather signatures and present his academic papers were more than enough effort to have him considered for clearance. The court was of the view that he could not be treated as other candidates who have no impairment. The judge said there is need for Parliament to enact a law that enables persons with disabilities to fully participate in politics. He, however, rejected Kigame's prayer to compel the IEBC to have him on the ballot, saying this would amount to overstretching the court's mandate. The judge said it's only IEBC that can decide whether he will be on the ballot or not. The manner in which it dealt with the petitioner's disability was unfair, unreasonable, and irrational. The petitioner has proved that the decision was not in accordance with the law. The Dispute Resolution Committee of the IEBC's decision, because the signatures were filed out of time, that is not satisfactory. Now we have Reuben Kigame in the studio with us to talk further about this. Reuben, good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Very well.
Well, thank you.
You've been up
sana.
and early. How many hours now?
Boss.
You guys, veterans.
Boss.
Veterans.
Boss.
Good to be here again.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Where are you from? Are you from Nairobi? Are you from Eldoret? Are you from campaigning around the country?
I'm from Kenya. This is not Kenya.
Umetoka wapi saa hii?
Umetoka kwetu.
Asubuhi hii na mapema.
Mimi ni mkazi wa Eldoret. So nimetoka Eldoret asubuhi. Nashukuru Mungu kufika Nairobi.
Karibu sana.
It's been 7 weeks of an interesting up and down. Trying to figure out what this country is about and trying to figure out where I'm going myself. But the High Court gave me some kind of direction yesterday.
Yeah.
So the case was ruled in my favor as much as I can judge. It did not quite capture what my submissions were all about. But nevertheless, I'm happy with the conclusions because all is well that ends well.
Reuben,
they focused too much on
what was your prayer when you went to court? How many prayers did you have? And
two main ones.
Okay.
That I had been treated unfairly with regard to process.
Okay.
And 2, that I was treated unfairly in view of the constitutional provisions for me as someone living with disability. So those 2 main issues. On the first one, I wish they laid a lot more emphasis, because what ended up hitting the masses was that I was actually out of time with the signatures, which is not true. The manner in which my documents were handled is what was my problem. And indeed, the manner of Wafula Chebukati and the commission handling my application. There are 2 ways discrimination could be read in this particular case. One is that, you do something to, for some people, and you don't do that for me. So, and that is in view of the extensions of the submission times and so on. Most of my colleagues were given 2 or 3 extensions. I was given only 1. And that one, ended up with me being at Bomas on the 29th, and nobody wanted to look at my documents. So that's the main challenge with the process, that after that, in trying to deal with the matter, they were all avoiding me and or tossing me back and forth, barring me from access and all of those. And then finally, I meet with Chebukati on the 5th of June. And it's probably one of the worst experiences that I ever had, because that same morning he had just met Raila and, given a royal welcome. And he gives me an appointment for 4 o'clock. And at 3, we are at the gate. We waited until 4:30, being barred and asked who we are with an appointment. And it took my friend Gitobu in Manyara, who was with me all that time, to actually go and look for Chebukati, where he was in a meeting with some other people, and literally forced him out of the meeting. And he comes out kicking and screaming, saying he'll give me only 10 minutes. And in the 10 or so minutes, he tells me his hands are tied. The commission does not have any legal jurisdiction to accommodate me, and that he cannot receive my signatures because I was out of time, therefore I'm disqualified. Now, so the whole thing did not hold together for me. That's why I mainly went to court. But looking at what the court dwelt on, we end up with a constitutional crisis because of 2 things. One, the Dispute Resolution Committee decides that the reason why I'm raising this case is because I want extra special treatment, which was not the case. I just wanted fair process. But in dismissing that process and arguing that I want special treatment as a blind person, they actually triggered my decision to emphasize the details of the constitutional provisions for persons living with disability.
What are those details, Ruben?
So, number 1...
What does the law say about a person living with disability and their participation in elections?
It begins with the general provision in Article 27, which basically says, this is the article against discrimination of any kind for anybody. And Clause 4 actually does include persons with disability. Nobody will be discriminated on the basis of, race, color, sex, gender, disability. And then that same article says that the state will ensure that, all citizens are treated the same. So that's the fundamental one. But Article 54 specifically states that persons living with disability need to be treated with dignity and to be addressed in a manner that is not demeaning. And it also adds that the government and its, through its institutions rather, will ensure that persons living with disability have access to all kinds of things, the communication stuff, including sign language, braille, name it, but also inclusion in, public places like political appointments and so on. The point is to realize a 5% inclusion in the public life of the country. So you look at those provisions. You look at Article 83 that provides that the Commission should be able to ensure that it enhances my participation. And you could look at Article 28 on the dignity of the individual. And so all these provisions, the court says, the DRC in particular just overlooked, did not even look at them, but then adds that these particular provisions are not just constitutional provisions. They are grounded in international laws and conventions. The United Nations Convention, 1948, 1965, I think it was 1975. A lot of provisions that implore governments as well as, groups to ensure that they provide for conditions and circumstances that would enhance participation and inclusion. Now, if you look at Article 2, Clause 5 and 6 of our Constitution, it says that such conventions, such international provisions will make up part of our laws as a country. So for them not to look at, my case within the constitutional provisions was a major downside for them. And so the conclusion of the court was basically that, in principle, what IEBC was doing was setting up a higher bar for me, expecting more from me than from my, competitors.
When they should have lowered it?
I don't like the lowering, because...
Well, it's the opposite of raising the bar. It's lowering the bar. So, in this case, if you're saying that they had raised the bar for you, what should have been the alternative? What should they have
So
done?
you see, the bar is this, that we are expected to bring our signatures from 24 counties. Do you have them? Do you not have them? Two, if you don't have them, this is the time in which you need to, correct your, format and, bring them back. And they did that for almost all of us.
Yeah.
Now, when I take back my signatures on the day I'm given to take them back, they don't receive them. Now, so they expect me to comply without looking at my documents. Those documents I still hold to this day. And so the question was, why would they expect me to comply without looking at my documents when everybody else is complying by virtue of their documents being looked at? Secondly, it's not just about signatures. You look at one's degrees, you look at the EACC report, you look at KRA compliance, you look at all those things. I never got an appointment for any of that. So basically, I'm supposed to qualify on a totally different standard than everybody else. But then the court takes this further and says, given the fact that IEBC did not publish anything in Braille or in a manner to help me find this process easier, but still expecting me to go around the country as a blind person collecting signatures from all these,
and verifying them
to be true, that they were actually expecting too much of me, and that whatever I was able to collect should have been sufficient.
Okay. But let me ask you, actually, Ruben.
Sure.
Now that we say this, so the expectation is that a candidate will demonstrate that they have support from registered voters. Now, somebody living with a disability, how would you know that the person whom you've approached and has signed that form has actually signed the form?
Great. So that is the place of education, because this is what happens. When I was a teacher, the TSC gave me the provision for having someone you call a personal assistant. Most of persons living with disability, especially those with a visual handicap, are entitled to a personal assistant. Now, since I left the TSC and government-related work, I still make use of a personal assistant every so often. So the personal assistant would be someone sighted who, if you give me your ID or document, I have you sign a document, he will verify for me that you're doing what, say, the IEBC wanted. I tell him, this is what is expected. This is what I want. Can you ensure? So it goes through his eyes for the verification process. Now, none of the presidential candidates, I must put it to you, went out one by one, by themselves to collect these signatures. They were helped.
They used the party machinery.
Party machineries, their friendships and so on. I have friendships too. And never mind, I need to let you know that I came from a party background. And so I have all these connections. And then the blessing of independent candidates all over the place. So the two main places I actually personally got involved in collecting signatures were not two, three. Was in Gishu, where I live, Vihiga, and Nairobi, where I personally, supervised the process. But I did travel and checked on the different independent candidates, the MCAs and MPs that are aligned to me, that were helping me with collecting in other parts of the country. So we then got to the tallying process. You have a team that helps you to verify, that these are really in the system and so on. So it's a process. But what I'm trying to say is that at the immediate level, I do use a personal assistant. But at the implementation level, every one of us, including those that are not visually challenged, will have extra support from teams in the party or within your formulations. So at the end of the day, then it's teamwork, really. And so as the supervisor of the team, I then verify my work is complete. It's time to take to the commission. So I wasn't asking for any special treatment at that level.
And you were not asking to be provided with a personal assistant?
No, not at all.
That's not an expectation?
No. I did. In fact, I had no single expectation for IEBC except clear me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's take a break.
Let me just make this real quick. You may know that within their own provisions for women, youth, and persons with disability, they create an exception whereby when it comes to the nomination fee, for example, they're supposed to pay 200,000. We're supposed to pay 100,000. So you can already see that there is accommodation envisaged. They just did not take that accommodation all the way.
To the full extent.
Yes.
It is 28 minutes to 10. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Ruben Kigame, presidential aspirant, is in the studio with us. He won in the High Court yesterday when Justice Anthony Mrima said the IEBC should listen to him, should accept his application to be considered to be on the ballot on August 9th. That's a conversation we're having. Elections Bilanoma. We are going into an election. We must make sure that there is peace. One of the areas that the NCIC had highlighted as a potential area for violence is Uasin Gishu, Eldoret. Ruben, you've been on the ground. How is it this time if you compare to the previous elections, campaign seasons?
Totally unrealistic. Uasin Gishu since 2008 has graduated to one of the most peaceful places in the country. In fact, I would be more worried to be in Baringo or Lamu or Garissa than, or in fact, parts of Marakwet. I would be more worried than to be in Uasin Gishu. I've lived there. I think I've seen the worst and the best of it. That's why I can authoritatively say
this time
it's peaceful. Tuko sawa.
That's very good. We are going to this election bila noma penda jirani. Let's take a break.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog.
He's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort.
Nafanda hii umbo yako iko na pembe. Hii ni umba special.
This is the Situation Room.
15 degrees and cloudy in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 20 and lows of 13 today. Cloudy at 17 in Nakuru, highs of 23 and lows of 12. And Nyeri is raining at 14, highs of 18 and lows of 13. Mostly cloudy conditions at 16 in Eldoret, highs of 21 and lows of 13. It's raining in Mombasa now at 24, highs of 27 and lows of 21. Also raining in Malindi at 25. It'll go to highs of 27. And lows of 23. Kisumu, partly sunny at 22, highs of 27 and lows of 17. And it's mostly cloudy at 23 in Kakamega. It'll go to highs of 26 today and lows of 14. The sun is up in Kampala at 22, highs of 25 and lows of 18. And it's raining now in Dar es Salaam at 23, highs of 28 and lows of 21. 9 degrees, sunny conditions in Johannesburg, highs of 17 and lows of 8. And it's cloudy this Lagos morning at 23, highs of 29. Today, we'll see highs of 28 in a sunny Kinshasa, currently at 21. Looking out into Beijing, they'll see highs of 33 today and lows of 24. There's an extreme high temperature warning in Paris. It's partly sunny already at 26, and it'll go to highs of 40 today, lows of 21. And London will experience extremely high temperatures at red, that warning, highs of 37 and lows of 20 today. New York is mostly clear at 25. Coming into Tuesday, New York will experience highs of 34 and lows of 24.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life.
All right, coming out of traffic hour after 9:30 this morning, we're still seeing the dregs of traffic just playing their way out here. Looking at Uhuru Highway, doesn't look too bad right now. Langata Road, though, is spilling over then to that section just after the roundabout at Bunyala, heading out towards Haile Selassie. Looks much better on the Thika Superhighway, just at that Pangani underpass. Going towards Muranga Road is where you see some action. But it doesn't get any crazier than that. Looks really good on Kiambu Road, as Limuru Road does, going out into all parts of the city. I think you should be all right. Traffic hour is over. Talk to us through the morning, however, because you never know what could happen. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice
22
FM,
minutes to 10. The
Nairobi.
conversation continues with Ruben Kigame, presidential aspirant. Ruben, 20 days to the general election. So the IEBC is served. The IEBC internalizes the orders of the court. Then the IEBC invites you to present your papers. Then the IEBC considers. And then the IEBC has got to gazette you. Do we have sufficient? I mean, do you want to take us through all this?
So there are two things I need to bring to your attention, Eric. One is why I'm running.
Okay.
And secondly, the massive nature, the bigness of this case. So why am I running? I'm running because I believe in something. I believe that we need to restore dignity to the people of Kenya. That I believe with all my heart, because we are very indignified. I'm running because we have lost values as a nation. We talk about the economy, we talk about, corruption, we talk about our bad manners. It's all because there is something we've lost that we need to go back to. And I'm passionate about going back to the foundations of who we are as a people, because some of that needs to be corrected by very little things that, if we pushed by way of a government of example, I think we can achieve a lot. In fact, some of our economic problems can be solved by the restoration of values. And then I want development to be people-centered. So I'm very passionate about that. And for me, it doesn't matter how long it takes for us to achieve that. I'm sold out. I'm passionate, even when I have been away from the campaign trail and just majoring on media. That's my message. We need to reboot the country and get it back to where we can function. Nobody taking over in August is going to make any single change to your life as a Kenyan unless the issues of dignity, the utu, the values are discussed. That you can take to the bank. Nobody will give you less prices. Nobody will give you a more peaceful country. Nobody will give you a more united country unless we go back to who we are as a people. And we can go into that. So I'm in this for the long haul. And by the way, this whole issue of dignifying Kenyans and dignifying, in fact, everyone who is in Kenya, including foreigners, the issue of values is not something I'm coming into today. As early as 2018, I was already addressing this. 2019, by the time we're getting to the BBI debate, and I'm saying we don't need the BBI, but a VBI, a value building initiative. That was 2019, 2020 into 2021. So I was hitting the campaign trail with something that I'm very passionate about. Utu wetu, maadili, na maendeleo ambayo namlenga mwananchi. Now, so that's why I'm running. Now,
do you think you have sufficient time to mount a campaign that will...
Hold on to the second thing.
Because I'm still looking at the 20 days.
Yeah, you're fixated on the 20 days.
Yes.
But nobody will fix this country in 20 days, not even those who are running.
It's the only time we have to vote.
So this case is massive, Eric. It's massive because that decision yesterday brought victory to a lot of situations. Independent candidates that were locked out, persons living with disability, not just in Kenya, but across Africa, and certainly those who believe in these ideals that were fed up with the options we have. So 20 days, are they enough? I would say more than enough. One, because Kenyans are not hearing of me for the first time. But secondly, a day in politics is a long, long, long time. One day in politics, and you give me 14, you give me 20 days, I could do a lot with 20 days. And we are going to ensure that although we will not be able to comb every village, every ward, we are going to put out our message with the help of our partners on the ground in such a way that when I appear in the region, it will reverberate to the ward level and so on. So we have strategically set out campaigns according to regions. But I need to remind you about how late Trump came into America's politics. It was really towards the tail end. I need to remind you about Matiba in 1992 when he flew in and made such ripples. It is really about people believing in you or people believing in a cause and what you stand for. I can't tell you enough of how many Kenyans had told me, okay, so if you're locked out, then I'm not going to vote. My own mother said, no need. My own children said, but that's close to me. I read online and, friends writing and saying, I will, even if your name is not on the ballot, I'll write it. I'd rather have a spoiled vote,
Yeah.
And then there are many things that I could tell you in that line, but we are ready to represent those who are dissatisfied with the options that there are. We are ready to represent those who want a different way of doing politics, a different way of, expressing what the Kenyan really wants. Now, if you look at the politics right now, you know that with the exhaustion that's creeping in on my colleagues and so on, there's a lot of anger, there is a lot of wild exchanges, so that we are already losing on that issue of values and how we even address each other. There's so much fighting, on the campaign trail. I'm hoping that I can drive this to the end without insulting anybody, but just staying on course with the issues, without, going out and maligning or mudslinging my opponents. I've done it from April 2021. I think 20 days are not too many to prove that you can have a clean campaign.
This is the thing, and how does it translate, Ruben? Into what does it translate now that we are looking at? So providing this alternative and looking at the last 1 month where it's been a back and forth, because I'm speaking specifically about your campaign today, where it's been a back and forth, IEBC, this other DRC,
It's unfortunate.
And then
I
to
wish
say that has been a time gobbler, if
Let
we're
me
going to be
tell
honest. So how does it translate? For these people that we say that the ones who are looking for the alternative, how does it translate into something tangible?
No, it is so easy for me to sit back and just say, they've done this to me, IEBC this, IEBC that, and say, no point running. It's very easy for me to do that. But I don't run for myself. I run for a lot of people that believe in a better Kenya. So put it this way. C.S. Lewis said, it's better to love and lose than not to love at all. What do I tell a lot of the young people that have been looking up to me if I don't push this to the end? What do I tell all these persons living with disability that have, dreamt of this opportunity, it's come, and then I just sort of retreat and say, 20 days, yeah. No. And like I said, you don't look at an election as a single event. So you're looking at a process. I believe in 20 days, we can bring our discourse to an honorable conclusion and have sufficient in number of votes to be able to either tilt something for a message's sake again, or indeed force a rerun. And let's get to the table and talk. And at that point, you talk about where the country is going, not whether you like somebody or not.
Ruben, let me ask you this question. Do you believe that the polls that we keep having in this country are representative of the reality of, as represents the popularity of the candidates, political candidates in the country?
Yes and no. Yes, because that's what we've got. So that is what it actually represents. And if you go out, on any campaign trail, people are not even so much looking at the parties anymore. They're looking at the candidate. And so what does the candidate stand for? And it is how you then communicate, how you package yourself. So you will, when you listen to Azimio, for example, they're basically saying 1, 2, 3. You listen to UDA, they're saying 1, 2, 3. Now, comes Wajakoya, Wajakoya will be associated with a particular message. So will Maore. And now comes Kigame. Is this just another pile-up on the ballot? No, I have a totally different messaging. I represent a totally different way of looking at fixing Kenya. Now, the fact that it does not represent the ideal does not mean that it shouldn't. So we need to work on this, and it is a process again. I believe this is the first time the issue of dignity and values and people-centered development is coming to the political space in Kenya's history. And I believe that whatever my candidature represents is significant in tilting the way we advance Kenya's politics for the future.
Okay.
So, for example, God forbid, I fall dead in 3 days. Nobody would ever say that the last 2 years have not had an interruption in terms of how we do our politics. And that's what we want. Eric, if you looked at that judgment, the judge actually says it's time for Parliament to actually look at certain things. It's time for this issue. In fact, he directed the registrar to ensure that the ruling is taken to Parliament because there are critical issues to discuss. Now, if that is all I would achieve to mainstream certain dialogues, so be it. Because victory in any election is not just demographic. Victory is also ideological.
Would it include then being part of a government, for example, to then lend your thoughts and your ideologies then to that, to continue to change thought in that aspect?
Whether I'm in Parliament, whether I'm in the executive or not, come August 9, nobody will ignore what I have talked about with regard to the dignity and the issue of values.
The reason why, Ruben, the reason why I brought in the issue of the polls is because you correctly put it that the candidates for the presidential seat have messages that people remember. Some of them one doesn't really remember because they all sound the same. But
do they?
Yes, they sound the same. Just a different way of saying the same thing over and over again. The one voice that has been completely different, and I'm using the word different, has been that one of Wajakoya's in the way that it has been received, and the polls have resonated with it. What your messaging is also unique and different. But the polls do not see any resonance of what you are saying. Now, the question I'm asking is, valuable as what you stand for is, in the time that we have left, how else are you going to present it so that it actually resonates and is recognized by the pollsters that this messaging of Kigame's team is something that the country actually sees as, should we say, powerful?
In fact, so a media space like this is something I really appreciate because then people get to hear. Now, it is very clear that each of these candidates stands for something. And so it's like when you see a doctor, what do you see? If you see a stethoscope, you win doctor. If you see Kigame, maybe somebody sees a song, So everybody carries something. When you see or listen to the messaging of, let's say, Wajakoya, he represents a particular message, but actually the reason why he is very successful in messaging is because he is disruptive, because he's saying something that the other candidates are not saying. And he's also giving certain solutions.
Presenting certain might be solutions.
Yes.
They are not solutions.
Well, until they're tested, they're still
solutions.
That's your opinion.
Yes.
According to him, they are solutions. So you give him that space. But then comes a group of people that says, I do not agree with what he's saying. Now, what if on the ballot they had no candidate that represented what they want to hear? So that's why IEBC, in including me, then gives certain Kenyans a chance to vote for maybe something different from Raila, something different from the Hustler messaging, something different from Wajakoya and Maore. So my messaging is simply this, that economy is not really our number one stopping place. We shouldn't even focus on the economy before we fix the people in government that are going to be handling economy. So appointments for me are critical. And those appointments do solve a particular problem. You see, the fish rots from the head. Eh? So all you say about a good fish, if the head is rotted, there is a problem. So somebody may think we should start at the bottom. I really think we should start at the top, because that's where the problem is. And so my coming into the space is disruptive. And it's a pity if especially IEBC would spend so much energy clearing candidates that everybody has doubts about. All these, degrees and so on. Up to the point where we're asking, what's the criterion really? It would be a pity for them to even say, we've already printed the ballot papers, so we can't accommodate you. That would actually be detrimental. It would be a problem at three levels. One, it would indicate that they had already decided to leave me out, because the CJ said that those cases were being, taken care of until last weekend. And guess what? I was in court with them. So if they printed and they are in court with me, it means they had decided they don't want this guy on the ballot. But secondly,
they were working on their best case scenario.
and not my best case scenario. So, and not the citizens' best case scenario. But it would even be worse, because in 2017, Justice Maraga ruled that the process of every election is just as important as the actual voting. And so if we already are dissatisfied, not just with this particular issue, but with, the digitization, whether it's manual or, if all these cases are on, then they would be giving us fodder for the possibility of a nullification. And we're saying we don't have to go that way. It is cheaper to include Reuben on the ballot than to run an election again. Don't you think?
It is.
If it's just economics.
It is. It's cheaper now than you taking them again to court and they're told this election was irregular because you locked out a candidate. That's true. So, what next? Now you are in Nairobi. IEBC headquarters are in Nairobi.
Yeah.
What are you doing now from this point on?
Of course, naenda kuwaona. Mwambie ndio hizi signature. Mnachukua, hamchukui. Ndio hizi degree, 1, 2, mnachukua, hamchukui. Ziko sawa, haziko sawa. Koti imesema, muangalie hizi vitu. Mnaniweka kwa ballot, hamuniweki.
What would your desire be? Because that would be the question, is that through all of this, was it to get the realization that the IEBC was operating in an unorthodox manner?
No.
Or was it to get on the ballot?
After yesterday's ruling, it doesn't matter.
So what is it then?
It's one of two things. If I'm on the ballot, we give Kenyans a chance, a real good chance to have an authentic alternative, something different.
Okay.
If I'm not, it doesn't mean I'm going to stay quiet. In fact, it would be worse. Because you can be sure I will disrupt the election. Because I'll be asking why. I'll be asking the questions while you need to be voting. And I'll be talking about the need for a nullification. So it's easier. In fact, there are things I would like to do that I can't say on radio. They're not criminal.
Why not?
But we would put out such a fuss until people know that they cannot push citizens to go a particular way. And I'm not the first revolutionary in the world.
Okay.
Sawa.
There's more.
Tumekusikia.
It's worse. If I'm not on the ballot, it will actually get...
Are you going to wait for their invitation?
Or are you going to take yourself there?
Or are you going to take yourself there? And if you go there and they tell you, it's okay, you wait, we'll call you.
Eric, you're bad.
We know how that goes.
Yeah. No, actually...
They'll call him next year.
Yeah, I know. So... But I could also go there and they still ignore me. They are veterans at that. So I'll do what my team says I need to do.
Okay.
Because I'm also answerable to a team. Mm-hmm. And then from here, expect one of two things. That you will see me on the campaign trail across the country.
Okay.
Or you will see me in the courts and everywhere else. And in the mobilization of citizens that I'm very good at.
Okay. Ruben, thank you very much for joining us.
No,
today.
thank you for the opportunity.
And we wish you all the best as you engage. Yeah, keep doing what you're doing.
Asante sana.
Yeah, it's good to have passion.
And we wish you success.
It's a bit more than passion. There's going to be...
It's deeper.
Something really major coming up.
Okay. Ruben Kigame, presidential aspirant, has been here with us. The IEBC has been told, listen to the man, take his papers, kagua them, and if he qualifies, put him on the ballot. CT, send us away with the day's proverb.
The day's proverb. Second last proverb from Namibia. That which leaks cannot stay full.
That which leaks cannot stay full.
Yes.
So very good one to end. Have a lovely day, folks. It's 10 a.m.
Spice up your life